You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Friday. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Not a football Friday, though. I mean, we'll have a football guest, but it doesn't necessarily qualify as a football Friday. It is the final Friday of the month, however.
Football Friday?
Good morning, San Diego. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Fired up for the weekend.
Anything special?
Yeah, friend, probably my best friend in the world coming to town, and going out to dinner with he and another couple tonight. So kind of fired up. Haven't seen him in a while.
Good. That's awesome. Great to hear.
Yeah.
I'm working good chunk of the weekend. So, wife's leaving town on me. All right. I don't know if she's coming back.
And will you guys notice if she did?
I don't think she will notice if I'm not around. I actually will notice at some point. The dog and I will look around and go,
The dog will definitely notice before you will.
I will say, though, dog adapts pretty quickly. Dogs know how to suck up. About 36, 48 hours in, dog realizes, don't know if she's coming back. Hey, you're not so bad. So we'll see how the weekend and the week goes. But been an interesting week. Listen, you and I are fans of Greg Norman.
Right. We are. He's been great to us. Not good. He has been great to us over the years.
We like him a lot. And I can appreciate, as I think you can appreciate, the letter that he sent to the PGA Tour commissioner, which is essentially MacArthur leaving the Philippines. I will be back.
Anytime you can start a letter out with "surely you jest." I read it and thought of you because I've never fancied myself even an average writer. I think David's a terrific writer. He wrote for the paper for a long time, for both papers, and in the area here, doing his own column for several years. And he's a good writer and an entertaining writer. It's hard to do. This is an entertaining read to me. Anytime someone goes scorched earth in pen,
right,
then they've advanced something a little bit. Norman not going down without a fight.
No. I have only begun to fight, essentially.
Right.
Kind of reminded me, did you ever see the movie On Justice for All? Al Pacino?
That one's been a long time.
Right. Oh, no, that's like late 70s.
Right, but it's not one I've seen 67 times.
No, it's not one that gets replayed on the movie channels a lot. It's long, all right? It's in middle of it's pretty slow.
Isn't that the "you're out of order"?
Yeah, absolutely.
Court's out of order.
Right. And as he's the big climactic final scene, all right, and Pacino thinks he's going after he's defending a judge who has allegedly sexually assaulted a young lady. And he knows he's guilty. I mean, the judge actually tells him in confidence that he's guilty. And so he starts his opening statement by, he's coming. You get the impression that this is going to be an impassioned defense of the judge. And it turns into the judge is corrupt. He's guilty as you know what. All right. The judge is banging the gavel. Okay. He goes after the judge, the whole deal. Okay. Out of order. You're out of order. This whole trial's out of order. And so they call the bailiffs in and what have you, and they are literally physically dragging him out. And as he is being dragged out of the courtroom, and it was like a rectangular courtroom. It took him a while to drag him down and out the back. Yes. Okay. He goes, wait a minute. And they actually stop dragging him for a moment. And he says, I have just completed my opening statement. And then they remove him from the courtroom. And so that's kind of what I was thinking when I was reading the letter and thinking about it. that Greg Norman was saying, I have just completed my opening statement.
Pretty much.
He's pretty much saying, listen, the money's not going anywhere, just so you know. Just so you know, the money's always going to be here.
Well, look at when players hear lifetime ban, I'm sure it scared the hell out of them.
Sure.
It would me if I'm a 20-something-year-old player, and they're talking about a lot of money in one league, and then they're saying I'm going to be out of the other league. I don't spend my days lawyering up I'm just trying to hit golf balls and get from, Houston to Dallas and wherever the next tournament is. It's like a rock tour, for crying out loud. I just travel a little better.
Well, and the other thing is that the greatest pension in professional sports is the PGA Tour. I mean, baseball's is pretty good, but, the golfers that we know have let us know, our pension's amazing. And you don't know. I have not heard the PGA Tour threaten a player's pension, but if they're threatening their livelihood, I mean, could they also say, and by the way, you lose your pension? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't either, but
I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Right. It's never come up on the 200 episodes of Law and Order that I've watched.
Right. Nor has it come up in the 15 years we've been doing this show.
Right. So, I mean, Norman in his letter says, Jay, you can't ban a guy from playing golf
when he's an independent contractor.
Right.
I mean, the gist of it is that he's got some lawyers that have spoken and said that they think this is illegal as well.
And now here's what I'm curious about. Let's just say, because Ricky Fowler backed the PGA Tour the other day, but Ricky Fowler also said, we got some issues and they need to be resolved. I mean, and I don't know if that was Ricky's olive branch to Phil, because I think they're tight, and in which she's like, hey, listen, you've brought up some legitimate points. I mean, you're toe jam right now and you're going to have to take your beating. But I mean, there's a lot of us that know you've brought up a couple of things that are worthwhile here. You're not going to get any credit for it and what have you. But like, if you're a Patrick Reed, who, by the way, has not publicly come out and said he's a PGA Tour guy, and he was one of the supposed 20.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, is there a player out there who's going to continue playing on the PGA Tour, but maybe is like, maybe we need to legally investigate whether or not we can be banned? Because I got to be honest, I could be a huge PGA Tour guy and still go, yeah, I don't like the idea of you threatening my livelihood over anything. All right. I mean, no offense. If I've qualified for this tour and I have status on this tour, who the hell are you to take away what you're going to ban me from the tour for playing golf, not for going out and committing crimes.
Right.
You're going to ban me from this tour for playing golf. This is a golf tour, right? I mean, I'm wondering if there's somebody out there who's willing to somehow investigate this legally.
Well, the one thing that Norman puts in there is a recent article by a former chief lawyer to the Federal Trade Commission. And one of the quotes in there is, most notably, imposing a lifetime ban would trigger a slam dunk antitrust lawsuit by Norman's upstart league, the players, or even federal antitrust enforcers who have made it a priority to protect workers' ability to apply their trade for whomever they please without interference from corporate giants. Now, the corporate giant part's pretty funny when you're looking at one huge entity over another, but if a lawyer to the Federal Trade Commission says it triggers lawsuits, I would have to think when the players read this, they started out by giggling with Surely You Jest, laughed their way through a couple of paragraphs, and then went, maybe we should ask our lawyers about this.
Yeah. Hey, call Johnny. All right.
And find out who Johnny would call for this case, because this isn't something we know he would handle.
Right. But we do need this answered at some point. We need to know, is this a valid threat or is this a fake threat?
In fact, call Justin and Jordan and see if they'd split this with me, because we're all cheap.
So that's kind of what I thought. coming out of the letter after enjoying essentially the Jane, you ignorant slut, beginning of it.
I love that Norman's not quitting.
What's he got to lose?
Not a damn thing.
Come on.
And the more I've thought about it after having Ron Cyrack on earlier in the week, Mickelson's suspended.
Yeah, I think he is.
I mean, Jay Monahan was asked about Phil, and he said something to the effect of, well, we can still discipline him or along those lines, but they don't talk about it.
No, never.
They never have?
Nope. I mean, the tour never confirmed that they gave Dustin Johnson a 6-month suspension for cocaine use, when we all know he got a 6-month suspension for cocaine use.
Be interested to see when Phil shows up and if it's 30 days from last week or 60 days or what it is they suspended him for.
Right. Because if it's 30 days, you figure he can play the tournament before Augusta.
Correct.
Which he normally likes to do.
Yes.
Phil's a guy who normally plays the tournament before a major. Tiger was always the guy who never played the tournament before the major.
So that would be something for me to keep an eye on.
Speaking of Augusta, a golf writer yesterday said that the Masters could end the Saudi League right now. If the Masters said, well, you go play in that league, you'll never get an invite here again. Because, twofold. A, that fact, and amongst the players, especially in the United States, that's the tournament. Even bigger than the U.S. Open. If you ask the U.S. Tour players, now obviously those not from the States, to many of them, the Open Championship is the greatest tournament in the world. But to the U.S. golfer, if given a choice between the Masters or the U.S. Open.
Masters. For the majority of them. There are a handful of guys that would say the Open, but the majority would say Augusta.
And so this writer said that, he thinks that the Masters could shut this for once and for all if they just came out and said, yeah, if you go play in that, you're done. But they're going to be asked, by the way. I mean, it will be a fascinating answer. I mean, they're going to be asked the Tuesday or Wednesday before the tournament.
When the chairman of Augusta does his presser.
And just say, hey, Patrick Reed is a Masters champion. He's been linked to this Saudi Golf League. If he were to play in a few of those tournaments, would you go along with the threat of the PGA Tour and say, hey, no, you can't do that and play here?
Well, I think here's where I think I don't think they could do it necessarily with Reed. He's a past champion. I don't think they'd ever deny past champions. But what they could say, if you win a tour event, you're invited to Augusta. They wouldn't honor, if they don't honor any of their wins, if somehow the RNA and USGA doesn't allow this in the world golf rankings because they do top 50s for a qualifying.
Now, my understanding, though, is that this Saudi league would qualify for world golf ranking points because it would technically be part of the Asian tour. And that is included in the WGR. It's my understanding as of now. That's the fact.
Right. But that's determined, I believe, by the USGA and the RNA. They can always change their mind.
Right.
They've done it before.
It's kind of like the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right.
Going, oh, wait, Pete Rose is eligible? No, we got to pass a rule saying Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson are not eligible to be voted on. No. So I just thought you'd appreciate the letter. And by the way,
surely you jest.
Thanks for the compliment.
You're welcome.
Reading that letter and thinking that there was a touch of me that finally someone of consequence in the world consulted with me when doing something publicly. I've only wanted that my whole life.
Well, you have it a little bit now, just not in the written form. You have been in Aikman's ear for a Super Bowl.
That is true. And I didn't screw it up either.
Enough so that you might have an opportunity to do it again one day.
Maybe. Or a Monday night game involving the Texans. One or the other.
We'll see.
Miller and Moulton. 16 minutes after the hour. Hope you've had a good week, and thanks for ending your week, so to speak, with us here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Right.
Biden is the worst president of all time. I get all that. Okay. But this is literally like at the core of who we are.
Oh, I know. It was funny. I watched yesterday. I watched BBC. Because they do news.
Right. We do the news.
And, he was asked about what China said.
Huh?
I mean, this is World War III right here.
Well, and
he didn't answer it.
Right.
And he also didn't sanction Putin, which has people off, which
right.
He didn't answer that. And so they were asking the White House correspondent on BBC. She said, well, this administration is very calculated. This is deliberate. They're not going to go say something stupid. They're not going to start walking down a road that could get them in trouble. Like, oh, I mean,
right. We're trying.
But yeah, I had an hour conversation with my kid yesterday. Needless to say, he's, unlike this one who's just bouncing a ball that's well, my kid's going, what out here? I'm 22. And I said, well, let's hope Moulton's right. What did Moulton say? We ain't going to fucking war over Ukraine.
You got that right. But you know what we are going to do? Okay. In all seriousness, what we're going to do is we're going to back up the rest of Europe. We're saying to Europe, hey, this is your fight. Okay. So you send your troops. NATO, you guys send your troops. We'll come in and protect you on the back end. So you're not unflanked. Okay. That's what we'll do. You guys go fight this. By the way, we'll give you a shit ton of money and a shit ton of stuff.
Where are you, Dandy Coins?
Wait a minute. What is this document of employment? What?
No.
Hold on. Wait a
no,
minute.
He's talking about non-competes.
Wait a minute. Adam, you mean to tell me you can't go work for another paper company ever? That's ridiculous. There's no such thing as a lifetime. No. It's America. That's
you can
ridiculous.
have non-competes 6 months a year. It's very typical.
Right. But not forever.
In fact, I know they're not in businesses like that because I know people that have just started another. I know someone who just does that and had to sit out his year.
I'm an independent contractor when it comes to like the networks, like, and all of us are in the booth. I mean, we all work for multiple networks, and literally Joe's guys work for 3 networks on 3 different days. And I might be doing that too this year. So, so that's why, and the networks can't ban us because of, they don't want to give us benefits. They don't want to make us employees. Daryl LaMonica? Neil Everett's going, Daryl LaMonica? The Mad Bomber?
If Bell commits to the draft, she'll at least be second round, right?
From what I've been told, she's not a first-round pick in this year's draft. This year's draft is loaded.
Yes.
Next year's draft will not be as good. It'll be good, but not as good.
Is she thinking of staying?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes after the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. Hello to the folks at 1070 The Zone. Top of the morning to you. And, of course, here in our base in the 239, Southwest Florida's ESPN Radio. Great to be a part of your day. So, I'll tell you. 4 days, 4 hours yesterday, by the way. So I think we've had 5 hours, like an hour and a half, 5 hours, 4 hours. I don't know. Add it up. I mean, maybe because they don't spend the whole time, Mark, the players and the owners in baseball actually face to face. They do a little, it's kind of like us. It's like doing a couple segments and then one of us goes into another room.
It sounds like they're doing a bad radio show right now, David.
And, the thing is that radio show apparently has a time limit on it, a shelf life. And, they're not, as Hank Stram once said, matriculating the ball down the field at all.
They're not doing a damn thing.
I hope they're eating well.
I mean, we said this week was going to be a big week.
Yeah.
And our expectations were apparently far higher than both the owners and the Baseball Players Association, because they've met for what seems to be about 13 hours this week and have gotten zero done.
Really very, 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 very little. I mean, they have tweaked offers on what are considered to be secondary issues. I mean, I got the starting 5 notes in front of me here. For the record, this week, there has been no progress on the CBT.
The most important issue.
That whole competitive balance tax.
Right.
Where they're $30+ million apart annually. And it would only get worse because the owners only wanted to increase a small amount and the players wanted to increase more.
And not only are they $30 million away annually, they're also far away on what the tax would be when the threshold is hit of whatever number it is.
Right. What the penalty is for going over the cap.
Correct.
They're $135,000 a year apart on the minimum salary structure.
That one actually seems easy to us. At the end of the day, that one, I kind of poo-poo that one.
But they've made $10,000 of progress so far this week in 4 days.
So it's $130,000 apart.
Right.
They made $10,000 in progress. That's about 8%, right, David?
Yeah, they were 140, 145. Now they're about 130,000 apart. Yeah.
So 12 more weeks, they should be able to have that settled.
They've made no progress at all on salary arbitration.
Well, that's wonderful.
They've made no progress at all on revenue sharing.
And they're going to have a tough time doing that because, well, the owners don't want to share. They're not good at sharing.
Well, and they don't like to share amongst each other.
I was going to say they.
mean,
the reason they can't get anywhere in the competitive balance tax is that they don't want to share with one another, let alone the players.
I mean, I will say this. You might, if you look back now from the view that we can look back on in 2022 about some of the big events that have happened in the last 75 years, because it was 75 years ago that Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. Okay, so if you want to just have that 1947, if you will, as the beginning of modern sports, I mean, I could argue that that might be the number one thing that has happened in the 75 years. But you could argue Pete Rozelle convincing the NFL owners to share all revenue equally. Convincing Wellington Mara in New York, especially at the time that he did it in the 60s, where without question, the New York Giants were the biggest franchise in the league. I mean, they played for like 5 championships in 6 years from 58 through 63. I mean, they lost almost all of them, but the league was really based around them. And you had the Bears. When he convinced him to, hey, we got to think big picture here. We got to think long term. We need Kansas. We're going to have a merger. We're going to need these guys to make it and these guys to make it. Wellington, you can't be a big fish in a small pond. It's not going to work. And he went, you're right. Think what the NFL would look like today if it was baseball. Market size, revenue, local TV deals.
And then forward that, because as they did that, there were still franchises with a competitive advantage, and they put in a salary cap.
Yes, right.
I mean, because, the Niners were dominating. They paid a little bit more. They treated players a little bit better. They were doing things that others weren't, and that instituted a salary cap.
Yeah. Yeah, free agency and the cap all came in pretty much together around 92, 93.
Right.
Yep. But you could make a case. It's one of the 3 most impactful things that has been done in the modern era of sports in this country. Rozelle convincing the owners at that time, well over 50 years ago, hey, we got this TV deal here. Yeah. We got to divvy it up, 1/14th, 1/20th, whatever it is. That's how it has to work. I mean, think of what the advantage Jerry Jones and the Cowboys would have today. It'd be staggering.
Think about how much more we'd rip on them when they lost playoff games.
But the advantage might be so great, Mark, that they actually may have won a few.
Possibly.
I know. I mean, Jarrah still would have been picking the players.
I was going to say Yankees under current ownership aren't doing all that well, David.
It just, Hal's not George.
Right.
I mean, that we know.
So it's not for certain, but I think you're on to something.
But, I mean, try to think what the NFL would look like today. I mean, who would be the A's and the Rays and the Marlins of the NFL? Well, Jacksonville, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Would be one of them.
I wonder how Green Bay would be.
How ironic. How ironic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And who else are we looking at here? I mean,
Cincinnati.
I mean, I guess
Cincinnati. I mean, take away the Joe Burrow thing. Cincinnati's a cheap organization. That's who you have to look at.
Yeah, Cincinnati. I wonder about the Tennessee Titans, although Nashville now has exploded in the last decade. But, I mean, think about how the NFL would be.
Buffalo?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Don't think Indianapolis might be the Milwaukee Brewers, if you will. It's not to say you can't compete and you can't win, but not necessarily do it consistently.
And certainly if we had no revenue sharing and no cap, could you imagine what the league would look like?
So And you could see, so that's just amongst the owners. I mean, remember they've had revolts at times in amongst the NFL owners. Jerry doing his Pepsi deal, and Snyder's done a couple of things in which the other owners would go, hold on a second. But so there you have it. They got 4 more days, right? Today, the weekend, and Monday, right? And then we start missing games. Mark, I think 4 days is plenty of time to resolve all this.
Well,
right?
as hard and as lengthy as these negotiations have been, David, they're just going to lock the doors and not come out until they have a deal.
Right. Well, they show up at 1:00 every day. I mean,
after they've played 18 and apparently had 3 martinis at lunch.
Got a text from a buddy of mine. Apparently, Scherzer has like an electric Ferrari.
They make those?
That was kind of my reaction here. I was looking at it.
I didn't see that advertised during the Super Bowl.
So, I asked him what was going on. He said something about, no, I'm sorry, electric Porsche. Dark gray electric Porsche.
Oh, yeah, the Taycan.
Okay. A buddy of mine who works over in West Palm and has covered it for a couple of days. He did say, though, midweek we had to move on to the Ukraine. And I, of course, said, yeah, unfortunately, something's going on there. There's movement there. Not in the Roger Dean Chevrolet parking lot. Miller and Moulton, 28 minutes before the hour. The starting 5 is next. Good show lined up for you. Pat Kirwan in a couple hours here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The Daily Mail Online tweets 11 hours ago, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle say they stand with the people of Ukraine and condemn Putin's invasion of the country. Dan Matthews, who I follow, he's Chuck Oliver's producer. That's why I follow him. He says, that's it. The war is over. Great job, Harry and Meghan.
Have you guys heard of the ghost of Kiev?
What?
Have you guys heard of the ghost of Kiev? It's like one of the number one things trending on Twitter.
No.
It's this Ukrainian MiG pilot who has 6 confirmed takedowns of Russian aircrafts. And they're calling him the ghost of Kiev.
By the way, speaking of Tesla, didn't Elon Musk insider trading or something? Didn't that happen in the last 2 days? Under investigation.
Oh boy. 1 minute.
Oh, the original Hot Lips from the movie died.
Yes. She was also Dangerfield's romantic.
Oh, and Back to School.
There you go.
$15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Normally, we don't reveal our poll question to right around the top of the hour or a few minutes thereafter, but this one, so good, I feel we need to break it out a little early, Mark.
So which league has the strongest chance to survive? The Saudi Gulf League, the USFL, or Major League Baseball?
There you have it. That's our poll question. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network, and floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
You see how smooth he is now over there? All right. He's just
He hasn't fallen asleep yet.
he's staring right at us. All right. And yet the button's like, way behind him. And he's just, coolly got his finger on it.
He was playing ball off the wall for the last hour and a half.
Well, 4 days down, 4 days to go. No real progress between the Major League Baseball owners and players. And Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees, another owner, showed up at the talks, and a few more players arrived as well. They met for 4 hours yesterday. They say they'll meet again today. Not before 1 o'clock, though. Not before 1 o'clock.
Got to get the massage.
Right? Bridge. Just got to run some errands. Guys, sorry, can't make it till after lunch. Yeah, but we got the sport that may be shut down. I don't know what to tell you. Not before 1. Hey, the NBA was back. Felipe, did you watch?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not.
Whoa! How about that? NBA came back in Boston, picked up right where they left off. They beat Brooklyn 129-106. Celtics are going to be a tough out. They have figured it out. Cavs lost in Detroit, however, to the Pistons, 106-103. Hawks lost in Chicago, 112-108. Game of the night, we called it, Minnesota and Memphis, and the T-Wolves won at home, 119-114 over the Grizzlies. Phoenix, Golden State, and Denver, all big winners. Suns by 20, Golden State by 37, Nuggets by 18. Mark, the madness officially gets underway in less than 3 weeks. And I don't mean just the playing games. I'm talking about
No. We're there.
first full day of the tournament's 3 weeks yesterday.
Yep.
So 20 days.
Which is also St. Patrick's Day, right?
It is.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. Yes. I feel badly, actually, for the sports bars. because they're going to do a good business for both. They don't need them on top of one another. Gonzaga was expected to have trouble on the road against San Francisco, a legit NCAA team right near the bubble.
Yeah, really beyond the bubble. I mean, they're in right now.
And Gonzaga won by 16, 89-73. Game of the night in the Big Ten, battle of ranked teams. Ohio State on the road beat Illinois, 86-83. Mark, when you're a team that's on the wrong side of the bubble and you get a chance to play a team that's on the right side of the bubble,
right?
You need to have a good showing.
You do.
Belmont losing at Murray State by 33 was not that showing.
No, David.
No.
Mm-mm.
Racers 76, Bruins 43.
In fact, it took them on Bracket Wag, Shelby Mass Bracketology, from one of the first four out to others considered for at-large bids.
Damn.
That's how bad that loss was last night.
Damn. Tell you what, Oregon's a bubblicious team, which I'll say this.
You don't want to play them if they get in.
No, you don't. They're a team that could go from a play-in game and do what UCLA did last year.
They're the Alabama of out west. We talked about Alabama yesterday of being a team that's dangerous if they were to get in.
But I really think the Oregon-UCLA analogy works because, remember, UCLA was in the play-in.
Yes.
And Oregon right now is right on the bubble. They swept UCLA, beat them at home. Oregon did after beating them in Los Angeles a month ago, 68-63. They'll try to complete the Southern California sweep mark tomorrow when they play USC. And USC needed 2 overtimes to win at Oregon State 94-91. Arizona and St. Mary's were the other 2 ranked teams who were easy winners last night. In the state, FAU and FIU both lost on the road. Women's hoops, the Gators lost on the road. Vandy beat them by 4. That's not a good loss.
Yeah, it moves them to the next 4 out. They're like 6 away from the tournament, according to Shelby Mass.
No, I was talking women.
Oh, women. I'm sorry. That's
all right. Women, switch over. I need switch over.
I don't have a bracketology for women.
Meanwhile, FGCU went on the road and got a big win over Liberty, 69-61. Kirsten Bell came back last night. She's an All-American candidate, and she had 23 points. Also on the women's side, Florida State a winner. South Florida, Stetson, UNF winners. FAU, FIU, Jacksonville, Miami all lost. Hockey, Mark, we would have made some money last night. We said, there's a couple opportunities here to make some serious coin. Columbus is like plus 400 at Florida. New Jersey's like plus 300 at Pittsburgh. What do you say? You just throw a few shekels on the big underdogs. One of them comes in, you're in luck. Yeah, they both came in. Blue Jackets 6-3. Panthers have lost 2 in a row at home. Devils beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh 6-1. What a wide world of sports. Rangers over the Caps 4-1. Boston needed overtime but beat Seattle 3-2. Toronto 3-1 over Minnesota. Nashville got a shootout win over Dallas. Calgary had won 10 straight. Vancouver beat them 7-1. And history in the San Jose Islanders game. Sharks won 4-3 in a shootout, but Zdeno Chara, Mark, played in his 1,652nd game. It is the most games ever played by a defenseman in the NHL. Think about it. Do the math. If a season is 82 games, he has played in he has played in 20 full seasons of games, because 82 times 20 would be 1640. 1652, he passed Chris Chelios, who played till he was 46. Chara turns 45, I believe, next month.
Dropped the gloves last week, too.
Dropped them last night.
He's had about 6 fights this year, easy.
He's playing 18 minutes a game.
Unbelievable.
Kurt Kitayama, an American who has a 1-shot lead at the Honda Classic over in Palm Beach. Sabatini, Daniel Berger, Chris Kirk, all 1 shot back. But you could argue the biggest story in golf was Greg Norman's open letter to the PGA Tour commissioner. Actually, it wasn't supposed to be open. It was leaked. Imagine that.
Oh, wow. Shocking event.
It ended with Surely You Jest, or it started with Surely You Jest. It ended with this is just the beginning. It certainly is not the end.
And the middle was juicy, too.
I have just begun to fight. So there you have it. The Saudi League not backing down. Some football news. Eric Bieniemy's returning to the Chiefs. Looks like a one-year deal to be offensive coordinator. Can somebody get to the bottom of the Eric Bieniemy story for me, please? I don't know if you're as fascinated by this as I am, but so let me get this straight. He's been the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs for the last handful of years.
And apparently, because he doesn't interview well, has no shot at a job.
Well, but not only that, nobody wanted him to be their offensive coordinator. I mean, Andy gave him permission to, you want to go pursue something else. I mean, your contract's up after the Super Bowl. I mean, if you feel you need to leave, that for whatever reason you're, under me, not getting any credit, I get it. Go do what you got to do. So he only interviewed for like 2 of the 9 jobs that opened, was not a finalist for either of them.
Right.
And nobody even wanted him to be their offensive coordinator. And remember, we got 9 openings, which means we, in theory, have 9 offensive coordinator openings.
Well, there might have been some coordinator jobs he didn't take either. I mean, in all seriousness, if you're Eric Bieniemy and you're offered the Saints OC job, do you take that job?
I would leave Kansas City at this point in time, because if I can't get a head coaching job being the offensive coordinator the last 5 years of the Chiefs, then obviously I'm not getting any credit for what we're doing. I need to go somewhere.
Right, but I'm still not leaving to go to the Saints job to be their OC.
Okay. I guess. At this point, though, I mean, apparently they've put the stink on me. I mean, nobody wants me.
Yeah.
Come on. Somebody's got to. I mean, there is a lot of media out there, a lot of reporters. Could somebody get to the bottom of this? What's the real story about Eric Bieniemy? One other NFL note, longtime Houston Oiler. You remember Ken Burrows? 00.
Okay.
He was the last player in the NFL to wear 00 in, I think it was the mid-80s, or I'm sorry, mid-70s. The NFL said, yeah, you're not going to be able to wear 0 or 00 anymore, but they let those who were still wearing those numbers play. It was kind of like when baseball said,
right,
we're going to retire number 42, but there were like 13 or 14 players still wearing it, and they let them all wear it till their careers were over, and that's why Mariano Rivera is the last number 42 you're ever going to see in baseball. Ken Burrows, wide receiver for the Oilers, couple 1,000-yard seasons. He died yesterday at the age of 73 in his native Jacksonville. College football news. Did you see Art Briles is back?
Grambling OC?
Yep. Hugh Jackson's the head coach at Grambling State, hired Art Briles to be his offensive coordinator. I am not making this up. Marshall was granted a restraining order against Conference USA yesterday. That's right. There are all sorts of women who are being assaulted by men in this country who cannot get a restraining order. But Marshall University got a restraining order against Conference USA yesterday.
How many feet does Conference USA have to stay away from Marshall? Is it the 100-foot rule? How does this work?
It's a 10-day restraining order. I mean, are they not allowed to call? I don't.
Can you join another conference and stay in those 10 days? How does that work?
Apparently, here's what Conference USA requested, that the dispute between Marshall and them go to arbitration. In fact, they, I guess, made the decision. They're going to bring in an arbiter and decide this. And Marshall's like, no, no. And so that's why they got a restraining order against Conference USA so that this dispute cannot go to an arbiter. it can be renewed in 10 days. But Dave Doran, the head coach of North Carolina State, got an extension through 2026. And Novak Djokovic lost yesterday to a German qualifier in the quarterfinals of, wherever this little tournament that they're playing is. But because of it, Djokovic's losing his number one ranking, which I'm a little surprised by. I mean, the guy won like 6 straight Grand Slams, lost in the final of the U.S. Open last year.
Does getting kicked out of the Australian Open have something to do with it? It must.
Well, because he didn't get any points at all from playing in it, and points in the majors are doubled. So even if he had played and somehow, some way lost early, he'd still be number one. But that Medvedev guy, who's so popular,
right,
who lost to Nadal, right? He's now the 27th player, I think, to become world number one in men's tennis. He's also Russian, and he spoke pretty eloquently yesterday about how sad he is about what is going on in his country and how torn he is. And he said he's all for peace. And he also pointed out how just last week on tour, the doubles champions in the event, one was from Russia and the other was from the Ukraine.
Ukrainian player scored in the UEFA Champions League. It's
the Klitschko brothers, the one's the mayor of Kiev, the capital, the other has enlisted in the army.
And the mayor's following his brother to enlist as well. I read literally in the break before we went on for this. So yes, it's you will see a lot out of the athletes from that part of the world. As far as the Russian ones, you better speak away from your country.
And the Champions League took their final out of St. Petersburg, Russia. It was going to be there at the end of May. They said, yeah, we can't be having that. And that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton. We'll talk a little pucks next hour. We don't do that all the time. Pat Kirwan will join us in our 8 o'clock hour. And we'll talk a little golf in our 9 o'clock hour. That's just some of what's ahead here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. We're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Go. Verlander first, though. You all right? What's wrong?
Anxious.
What?
Paranoid.
About the button?
No, not the button. The world.
Okay, I'm not being a jerk. Are they invading us here in
No,
South?
I know,
Okay.
but it's
no,
just,
no. It's actually it's a way to go through life. Okay, sometimes it's okay to just start your circle and then slowly branch out. All right, what's going on over there is going to hurt us economically. No one here is physically going to get hurt.
Oh, I know, but
And this just in, for the rest of your life, the world is going to be a shit show.
yeah,
Learn to deal with it.
and adapt.
Because outside of the 1950s, in which even then we had the Korean conflict and civil rights, but I mean, basically, the world has been a shit show.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I feel you, but all I've been thinking about is how much worse this could end up being.
Well,
Like, is this the start of something that could be very,
well,
very
yeah,
bad?
but I
The
mean,
moment China goes and invades Taiwan, get nervous.
yeah,
Until then, I wouldn't worry about much.
yeah, I would. Right. What this is a Eastern European Russia border thing. Don't worry about it. Price of gas is going to go up again.
Oh yeah.
All right. Inflation will take longer to come back down. China, Taiwan. Oh no, that's a new ballgame. That'll be fun.
And by fun, he means horrible.
Right.
Also, Twitter is just a wasteland of filling your
But
mind.
listen,
with
you know, I
dark thoughts. And
don't mean to make light of it, but you're trying to go into the media world. You got enough issues on your plate.
oh, I know,
Trust me.
I know. But that's the thing. Because I want to go in the media world, I have to do so much, I guess, investigating.
Can the Big Ten get a restraining order against the SEC? You really want me to put that question up? I was just joking with that.
Oh, I
question.
think it's spectacular. It's funny.
I agree.
It's funny. Yeah, brown chicken, I do. Absolutely. First off, his hire had to be approved by the AD and the university president. So also legally he was cleared. Now we all know that's crap.
That's what surprised me. I heard he was coming back, and I was like, "Huh? Really?"
Not in particular. I don't know if we go back baseball here. We never did the conference thing.
10 seconds.
Okay. I like it.
You start.
Vamos.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday morning here on the Florida Sports Network. You can follow Mark on Twitter at that Mark Miller. You can follow me at the David Moulton. You can follow the show and the network at FL Sports Network. And you can also go online, floridasportsnetwork.com. We urge you to text the show. If you never have before, you need to send one text, FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio to 21,000. And then you're in. You can text forever. And we also encourage you to take part in this little Miller and Moulton show on twitch.tv. We got followers. We've got subscribers. We need one of you every day, if you haven't before, to follow us. Mark just needs to every morning see that we have a new follower. that basically lets him keep doing the show emotionally. All right. When we lost a follower.
We lost 2, and I'm still trying to figure out what you did.
Right. I think it was my rant saying how much Brad Keselowski sucked in the Daytona 500.
Don't do that anymore.
Must have been a couple of big Keselowski fans. I mean, he only took out about 15 cars in 2 different wrecks. I mean, but it's the only thing I could think of because we've been pretty nice lately. We've been pretty upbeat. We're not crushing too many people too hard.
Well, I hope we don't do any more crushing today. People aren't ready for it. There's been enough crushing going on.
Right. For most of the world, it's apparently all about the clicks. For Mark, it's all about the followers.
That's it. Pretty simple life. But David, a couple of weeks ago, or I guess a week and a half ago, news came out that the college football playoff will exist as a 14 playoff at least until 2026.
Right. Through the 2025 season.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We got 4 more years of status quo.
And it was Greg Sankey and the SEC who was leading the charge to expand this playoff. They wanted more. Why? Nobody has any idea, because they were getting 2 of 4 damn near every year.
So it seems.
So where do we go from here when 2026 comes? Because there's now talk, and Greg Sankey has at least leaked it out there, David, that maybe we're not going to support a 12-team playoff next time around.
Right.
This 14 playoffs working really well for us. Upon further review, they've won 5 of 8.
Well, and not only that, they're in it every year. They're the only conference I can say, listen, we got somebody in this sucker every year. That's a big deal.
And with Oklahoma and Texas coming, that's not going to slow down any.
No. The vote was 8-3, in case you missed it, and it needed to be unanimous. Now, I have no idea 4 years from now what the vote has to be. I would expect it needs to be just a majority of some kind, whether it's 6-5 or whether it needs to be more than 2/3 and it needs to be 8-3 or more, whether it needs to be 75% or more and it needs to be 9-2 or more. But the reason it had to be 11-0 was they were trying to change the existing deal and the existing contract. And so in order to change it, their rules were it needs to be unanimous. And remember, very quietly, about 6 months ago, when the SEC and Oklahoma and Texas announced that, we're going to be dancing together here at some point, and the other conferences got up in arms. Well, at least the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC did. It's ironic that the Big 12 didn't join any alliance and what have you, considering they're the ones that were victimized, if you will. But the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC said, we are forming an alliance. Oh, okay.
Against the great access powers called the SEC.
Right. And apparently so far that alliance has not meant scheduling changes. We thought, this will be good. You guys will start playing one another. More good games. That'll be great.
There is really no benefit for the Big Ten in this alliance other than getting the Pac-12 and ACC to vote with them.
Right. And as Andy Staples pointed out in a fine column in The Athletic, why did the Pac-12 and ACC go along with this? How does not getting your champion in the playoff every year, unless they absolutely suck, not a good rule change?
And Andy also penned another column that I found interesting, David, because there is, and we have talked about this for as long as we've done a show, there's no commissioner in college football.
Nope.
These are all separate entities. Every conference runs essentially independent of one another. They meet and do some of these things, but at the end of the day, we found out that these little things don't matter a whole hell of a lot. And Andy just wondered, and I saw it and I went, oh boy. Because Sankey walked away and said, I don't know what we're going to do next time. And you wonder if Andy's tight with SEC people. Did somebody say, one of the thoughts was, and he wrote that thought perhaps, where the SEC may just say, What if we just have our own champion and we'll allow our champion to play whatever it is that you come up with out of the rest of your conferences?
Oh, wow.
You know, SEC versus y'all.
Oh, wow.
Saying that the SEC now with 16 teams in the not so distant future could have its own 16 playoff every year.
Oh, wow.
You know, they could go to Atlanta, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, Miami to fight over where the early games would be.
They could also have home playoff games if they wanted to.
They could. And then they could have 3 playoff games, 2 semis, and a final on location.
I think 6 is too much, by the way. I mean, if I'm to take this seriously, and also remember, if the SEC were to do this, essentially break away, they get to keep all the money.
All of it.
All of it. All of it. There is
and
no
that's
sharing.
why 6 teams happen, because you're going to get 5 games that way.
Yeah, I know. I just, you need interest, though. I don't know how much interest there will be, even in the SEC. You just played it out all year. You're going to have 3 play 6 and 4 play 5. There's a part of me that thinks that even SEC fan would be like, hey, I love this taking over the world thing, but why don't we just do the top 4? That's enough. I mean, we fought it out all year. I mean, because now you're including third place teams. Now, granted, you could have big name schools be third place teams. You know, we talked about if they actually realign the sucker and do it geographically, that the Alabama schools move to the east.
Well, now you're getting to the part of this. How are they going to set this up?
Well, this could be where the 4-14 pods come in.
And then there's 2 wild cards.
Oh, wow. Now, I have to admit, that way has more interest.
Well, I think that's the only way you could pull this off.
But think about what you're doing here. You're potentially, you know, you're playing a lot more games, but also you need to then play every week. Like that first Saturday, you're playing the SEC championship game, so you're going to have first round playoffs the very next week. All right, that's fine. But then you're going to have what, semifinals the week before Christmas? And you're going to have your then de facto SEC championship game or
New Year's Day or Sugar Bowl.
Or are you now eliminating the SEC championship game the first weekend in December? Yeah, ESPN's going to be like, when we agreed to give you $330 million a year, that game in Atlanta was a big part of it.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it was 1/3 of our offer, to be honest with you. I mean, there was talk during this, just to go behind the curtain, go back a couple years. There was talk in SEC circles that if we pulled the SEC championship game out of the contract and let networks fight over who wants to carry us for 12, 13, 15 weeks, and then put that game up for bid by itself, what could it get? And the thought amongst TV people was, oh, well, it'd get 9 figures. And the first digit might not even be a 1. That might be a $200 million football game.
All right. If it's not 6, if it's 4, that SEC championship is still worth every bit as much.
Is it? Or is it now only for seeding? I'll also say this. I think it's going to be tougher to have an SEC championship game if you go to the 4-14 pods.
It definitely is. But what this is, it's an SEC championship to go take on whatever's left. Tell the 9 conferences in Notre Dame, you guys come up with your champion, we'll play it.
Well, that is, to me, the other fascinating part of this, which is the SEC now that good and that big in which it could say, we're going to do our own thing and we'll be standing at the end and you guys decide, you do your own thing, knock yourselves out, and we'll play whoever emerges. And the other guys have to go, yeah, okay. Or do the other guys say, no, we're the national championship. Okay, you can knock and do the whole competing leagues thing. It's just like ABA, NBA.
Right. This is AFL, NFL.
Right.
Prior to the merger.
Yeah.
Going in the opposite direction.
Right. And so, you know what the hell is this?
That's what the Big Ten would do, for the record. I don't think the Big Ten would say we're going to play an SEC versus y'all game and we're going to have to fight to play y'all. No.
Yeah, but the y'all may go, you know, if you will. I know you said the SEC's y'all, but the y'all amongst the other conferences is every other conference not named the Big Ten. I mean, if I'm the Pac-12 and the ACC, I'm like, wow, I got a chance to. I have a more realistic chance to get into the national championship game this way than I do the other way, because I don't have to play an SEC school on the way to the title game this way. Think, by the way, Fan would go for this?
No.
You don't think Fan would go for SEC plays the winner?
If it was an SEC championship and they went automatically to the championship game the way that currently is, if the SEC broke off and had a 14 playoff
Right.
to take on the 9 conferences and Notre Dame playoff,
Right.
no, I think the Fan would be, David, the Big Ten fan would be incredulous to not want to play that game. They would think if they won against the 9, they've won the whole thing. These guys left. They already hate the SEC. David, we got a text when you were talking earlier in the show about the restraining order from Conference USA and Marshall.
Right.
We literally got a text. Can the Big Ten get a restraining order against the SEC? The hatred of the SEC nationwide is tremendous.
Yeah, it's become the Patriots.
Yes.
Like the SEC was admired in the late 2000s and into the early 2010s, but now by the mid 2010s, the rest of the country is like, okay, enough already. It's why they embraced Clemson. They were like, finally somebody, that Ohio State team that won. It was like, fantastic. Could somebody beat these guys? Oh, come on now, though. I mean, so the SEC wears the black hat. That's perfect. I mean, it really is. It's perfect. I'm not a wrestling guy, but, what is it that they constantly create? White hat against black hat.
Right, but now the black hat has its own tournament. I'm telling you, college football fan would not like this.
All right. Take a break. I want to come back. I want to ask you a question about legitimacy.
All right, we've got 2 hours and 45 minutes. You might want to have more than one question ready.
Well, we got a hockey guest in 20 minutes. We got Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour. We got a golf guest, Jason Sobel, at 9 o'clock.
Look at that.
I mean, so
Our questions have questions all
Right.
of a sudden.
We can keep coming back to this. And come on, Mark, you know me. I have questions. But I
Doing what I can to make it a football Friday, David.
But I have one big one on the other side. That's question, that is. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, damn it. You guys want to see? Who did the Heat play tonight again? We're on the road. Help. Who do we play? It's not coming to me right now. Toronto? No. I know it's a pretty good matchup. Okay, whatever. Got a big second half of the season coming up. Got to hold down the East. Teams are better. We're all good. They told me to come over here. I didn't come. They told me to come. What? That's what she said.
I don't think, Adam, I'll ever utter those words. I don't think "Go Gators" is something that's in my vernacular. Not certainly in all caps.
The Knicks, that's who we play. That's right. We're in the Garden.
God, that court's awful.
What?
Nice.
The Oregon court? It just looks like poo smeared everywhere.
I'm sure it's not bad to play on because when you're playing, you're not looking down, but to look from up top, it looks awful.
I have to admit, I don't think beating UCLA should have been a court storming. You went to a Final Four recently. Okay. I mean, you're pretty good. Oregon's a pretty damn good program in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's all right. UConn stormed the court when they beat Villanova. They were favored.
Oregon has I think over 10 NBA players too.
I mean,
Didn't Duarte go to Oregon?
yes.
Yeah.
I believe you're right.
So I want to ask you something, David. When someone says, or I'll ask both of you actually, when someone says the Heat are playing in the Garden tonight, where do you envision they're playing?
New York.
Madison Square Garden.
Yes,
York.
thank you.
There's only one garden.
Exactly. People were like, "Oh, what about the Boston Garden?" The Boston. Get the
Well, it's not the
hell outta
Boston
here, bro.
Garden
It's
anymore.
the TD Garden.
Well, no.
Oh.
It's not the Boston Garden anymore.
Yeah, it's the TD Garden now. But
Well, no, it's a
No,
different.
no, it's a different building.
That's the other thing.
They knocked the Boston
Right,
Garden
yes,
down.
Right.
The Boston Garden's gone.
Yes, and they
Just
built,
like Olympia's gone. Just like Chicago Stadium's gone.
right. The Garden is Madison Square Garden.
Correct. That building's been there since, I think, 68.
Thank you. We're coming back now.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. We'll talk a little pucks coming up. 15 or so minutes. Pat Micheletti, Westwood One NHL coverage. Also part of K-Fan in Minneapolis. He'll join us 15 or so minutes. Pat Kirwan in a little over an hour. Jason Sobel in our bonus hour. Thanks for being with us. Turns out it's a football Friday after all.
We do what we can.
Talking college football and the fact that, they missed a golden opportunity here in the last 10 days. Could have expanded the playoff, and most people believe that sport needs to open it up. They didn't do it. Conference commissioners voted 8-3 to vote it up, expand it, take 4 teams, make it 12. Problem was, to change the contract, the bylaw said you needed a unanimous vote. And the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC voted as an alliance. Is this the new Soviet bloc?
Well, that's what I mean, does that just make the SEC the axis of powers? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So, where does it go from here? And Andy Staples of The Athletic wrote a couple of terrific stories in the last week. One of which was just talking about the Pac-12, Big Ten, and ACC going, can we talk here? Can we think about this?
They're not scheduling games against one another. This is basically an alliance and voting power only at this point.
And Andy's conclusion was, hey, I get the Big Ten voting against the SEC. I mean, there's the big two and there's everybody else. And they're one of the two. And I could get them basically saying, yeah, whatever you're for, we're against. Okay, fine. But his point was, what are the ACC and Pac-12 thinking? I mean, they should have been like looking at the Big Ten going, hey, I know we agreed on this whole alliance thing, but we need this. I mean, Pac-12 hasn't had their team in the playoffs since Washington in 2016. I mean, they've gone 5 straight years without a team in the playoff. And the ACC, they got a bad media deal. Bad media deal. They're locked into ESPN to the mid-2030s, getting pennies on the dollar compared to what the other networks are getting.
And as David has pointed out many times, with the SEC moving to ESPN, where do you think ACC games are going to be played? Where do you think, how far down the rung are they going to go?
I mean, quick sidebar, in the industry, the Big Ten media rights are up and ESPN wants to keep them. That's a lot of households. They're the number 2 media partner. Fox is number 1, ESPN's number 2. And people, I mean, think about if you're the ACC. So wait a minute. They're all in on the SEC. They're going to get even more exposure. If ESPN keeps the Big Ten as the number 2 media partner, I mean, are our games going to appear anywhere but the ACC network?
I just say, quick sidebar, if CBS were to go hard after the Big Ten losing the SEC and get the Big Ten on a co-deal with Fox, that means FS1 and CBS Sports Network would be airing games. It would be the biggest boon to CBS Sports Network that's ever happened.
Well, they might finally be able to sell that sucker, which I've been trying to do for a while.
Right. Like as you said, 80 million households.
Right. I mean, none of the 80 million know they have it, but they do.
And I still have to find it. I mean, I know I have it, and I still have to go looking for it when there's a game on it.
So, but the other story that Andy Staples wrote was about, the SEC was trying to play nice.
What if they don't? What if they don't? What if they just decide, we're going to have our own championship. We're going to expand this to 4, maybe 6 teams. And we'll open an invitation for our champion to play whatever it is the 9 of you in Notre Dame come up with at the end game. You want to have your Rose Bowl for your national champion? We'll take them on in 10 days.
And essentially, keeping a whole bunch of money for themselves and not having to share it. And B, saying, hey, you can't have a national championship without us. I don't know what to tell you. I know you don't want to hear it, but suck it up and deal. You can't have a national championship without us. That if you guys try to say that your little tournament here is the national championship, and this is my question for you, Mark, would the fans, not the conferences, because come on, it's arrogance,
right?
Get dressed up in your shirt and tie, stick your chest out at the press conference. We will have the premier college football tournament from coast to coast. Would the fans, if this split were to happen, look at the 9 conferences and Notre Dame and say, if you guys try to declare yourselves the national champion, we will look at you the way we looked at UCF when they tried to declare themselves the national champion the year Alabama won it. What was it, 2018?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
17?
outside of Orlando, David, I don't think it flies. In Orlando, they would still declare themselves national champions.
No doubt about it. But you think about it, you would have a whole bunch of Orlandos.
Yes, you would.
Big Ten country. If all the fans of those conferences, and there's still a lot of Notre Dame fans, if you all buy into, hey, this is the national championship, that is just the SEC championship, they are choosing not to play in the national tournament. Or would football fan go, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not watching your games. This is laughable to me. But they look at it as the ABA versus the NBA back in the 70s.
David, the SEC would mock them uncontrollably. The leagues, I don't think fan bases would declare it a national championship. Some would. But, I mean, could you imagine Ohio State winning that tournament and feeling satisfied? And help me out here, Big Ten guy, because I'm really directly talking to you right now. Text the show. The keyword, FSN Radio. Text it to 21,000. Big Ten guy. Big 12 guy. ACC guy. Florida State guy. You get yourself back. Miami guy. You get yourself back, and you win this tournament, and you beat the Buckeyes, and you beat USC, and you are standing on top of the non-SEC mountain. Do you consider that a national championship? Because it's not.
I think there are, Mark, these leagues and fan bases get pretty provincial.
I understand. Felipe, you are a diehard Miami Hurricane fan. That's your team. The Canes get into a playoff that doesn't involve SEC teams, and they win. They beat Michigan. They beat Ohio State, whatever it is. They beat a Pac-12 school, but they never beat an SEC school. Do you consider it a national championship?
Unfinished business. That's what I consider it.
Is that a yes or a no?
It's a no. Because
so you wouldn't. No. Now, let's play this out. 12-game regular season, conference championship game, and then you have to win 2 or 3 games in your tournament. You would play 15 or 16 games that year. And as Mark mentioned, the likelihood is along the way, you will have beaten the Big Ten champion and one other conference champion, and you will be the ACC champion.
Yet on the other side, there's SEC schools who are just as good, if not better, that we're not playing.
Right, but it's not your fault that you're not playing.
I mean, if it's the parameters of the situation, yes, we're champions. But
there'd be a big hole in it.
The big but. There's the big but.
Yeah, and it's a big but.
It's a big
and I cannot lie.
Yep.
Hello.
Texter says, I think if the SEC split away, they would offer their runner-up to play in the other championship just to keep things competitive.
Wow.
Then just a big NO. FSU fan says, I consider FSU winning 7 games a championship. That's from an FSU fan.
It's taking a bit of a beating here lately. Emotionally, they're down. They're very vulnerable right now. We feel your pain, sir. We feel your pain. Just wondering, because Mark, if this is very early returns, I feel like write-in votes. You know how all of a sudden you look, what's that place in Maine? Is it, something Notch? Dixville Notch. And the first 14 votes come into the presidential election, and Trump leads Biden 8-6. That boom, it comes in. Our early returns here. If I'm the SEC, I'm loving this. There's not a single person who goes, oh, yeah, it's a legit national title.
Not a one.
If I'm the SEC, I'm like, well, we can have our cake and eat it too. Let's do our own tournament and then just say, we'll play the winner.
Who's got next?
Miller and Moulton. As we mentioned, Pat Kirwan will join us in roughly an hour. Jason Sobel will join us in our bonus hour. Coming up right now, Pat Micheletti. We'll talk a little pucks, and then we'll hear from you as to whether or not it's a legit national championship if your team beats everyone but an SEC school. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yep, I went there, Naples, go blue. I went there right away.
Pushing these buttons, man. Ignite tonight. That better be featured on What's on Tap.
The 76ers at the T-Wolves?
James Harden's first game as a Sixer. This too. Heat on ESPN.
All right, you got to take Carolina tonight. They got that's going to be a big number. Columbus back-to-back nights. That's going to be 420. Carolina at home against Columbus, back-to-back nights on the road for Columbus.
Yeah, because you want to give them credit for beating Florida, but then you go, ooh, back to back.
Right. Devils are on the road at Chicago. Now that one you might get decent odds.
It is the Hawks after all.
They're terrible.
Although the Devils aren't that good either.
They're bad too. Fam, this is not an example of that. This is an article that Andy Staples wrote that we're using to get a couple segments out.
Actually, though, all right, it's written with someone in the SEC offices saying, and Andy going, that's not bad. Because don't think Greg Sankey wouldn't do it, by the way, and don't think his base wouldn't go, that's a great idea.
Sonny, I don't believe that to be true. They play teams. Yeah, they play some bad ones, but come on. Which conference, in your opinion, Sonny, plays the best non-conference schedule?
The Big Ten. Because they usually play the Pac-12 they all play at least a Pac-12 game. And then they have, a couple of them play Notre Dame and best non-conference schedule every year. It's believe it or not, it's probably
the ACC.
It's probably the Big 12, but nobody gives them credit.
Ohio State had Oregon last year. Penn State had Auburn. Indiana had Cincinnati. Michigan had a bad Washington team, but that's not their fault. Rutgers doesn't count. Sparty had the Canes. Wisconsin had Notre Dame.
That's pretty good.
Iowa had Iowa State. No. Of the teams that counted, they all did. Nebraska had Oklahoma.
All right, I want to call Pat.
Alabama had Miami. And Georgia had Clemson. Florida had Florida State. It's not their fault that Florida State sucks.
Pat's on hold. We're back in 30.
Great. Thanks.
Five seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Our poll question. Okay, we're being wise guys today, but it was too funny. I had to let Mark's nomination get through the censors here. All right, lay it on us again.
Which league will survive? Which will have the longest future? The USFL, the Saudi Golf League, or Major League Baseball?
There you have it. All right, at that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton, at FL Sports Network on Twitter, or you can go to floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. Pat Micheletti is kind enough to join us. He covers the NHL for Westwood One and also does plenty of work on KFan in Minneapolis. You can follow Pat on Twitter at PatMick2626. Pat, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time, particularly for you. It's early in the morning. How are you?
It is. I'm great. And that's a tough poll question. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to give it some thought, you know? How you doing, guys?
We are good. By the way, to let folks know throughout our listening audience, I mean, isn't this Minnesota high school state tournament time or in a week or so? And is that still selling out 18,000 a night?
Guys, you wouldn't believe it. They're in section play right now. So yes, the tournament is, I believe the girls just is going on right now, and then the following week is the boys. And yes, it will be sold out, 18,000 people, and it's a sight to behold. It's really a lot of fun.
Pat, hockey obviously in these parts is taking over. Tampa's a great hockey town now. Florida has a great hockey team. We'll see if anybody shows up when the playoffs come. But when you look at the Lightning, is there something they need at the deadline to make this good team even better?
Well, listen, I look at the league and the teams that are in contention, and I was reading something on the Florida Panthers, who I think right now are the best team in the National Hockey League, and they're talking about adding something. And when you're really that good, and you say, you know what, there's just one more piece that might get us over the edge. So in regards to Tampa, listen, they lost a majority of their fourth line from a year ago. They may look to just add another forward, and not so much, to put in the lineup, but to have a guy there, because when you go through the NHL playoffs, which could be 4 rounds, a total of 28 games. Not to say that every series is going to go 7 games, but you're going to need to be healthy, and you're going to need some veteran bodies around that have played before. So if I'm Tampa, I'm looking to shore up the fourth line. Their star players are their star players, and they're going to carry them through. But you just need extra bodies.
And we were talking about this the other day, Pat, that if you think about it, the Lightning have won back-to-back cups, and Stammer really hasn't been happy for either run, or healthy, I should say. And so they could get, and yes, they've lost Goudreau and others, from their 2 runs, but they have a chance to actually have all their stars be healthy for this run.
No, that's key. And durability and health is the key to, succeeding in the playoffs. I mean, if you lose a key player and all of a sudden that messes with your lineup and guys aren't slotted in the right spot, and the old adage, next man up. Well, in hockey, it sometimes it's not the next man up, because there's chemistry, there's just knowing your line mates, and can you get by a game or two? No doubt about it. But through the long haul on the long playoffs, you need your full lineup.
I love what you're saying, Pat, about the Panthers, and I'm hopeful that we get another Panthers Lightning playoff series, because it was great last year. Here's the question: when it comes to those 2 teams in the playoffs, do you think Florida has the goaltending? And I know Bobrovsky's good, but he's going up against the best guy in the world to beat him 4 times. Because at the end of the day, as good as Florida is, I have trouble seeing them getting through Tampa. Do you?
That's the $1 million question. Now, I'm going to tell you, at the beginning of the year, I picked the St. Louis Blues. I know I'm shocking you. And it's the St. Louis Blues and the Florida Panthers to get to the Cup final.
Wow.
So I just thought, I mean, Florida to me is the most talented 1 through 4. Their top 4 lines, and their speed and their skill, and I think their D are really good. And but to answer your question, that is going to be the what we're all going to be watching. Can Bobrovsky, outplay Vasilevsky? And until he does, I don't know. I don't know. And there's something, guys, about having that, that edge, that mentality of, the Lightning have won 2 in a row. You know what? They're starving to win 3 in a row, and they know how to get it done. Florida doesn't yet. I think it helped them playing such a tough series last season against Tampa. And, that adrenaline is going to get them going. So I can't wait for the matchup. It's inevitable that they're going to play, and, we'll see.
Well, you just wonder also, Pat, and we'll move on to other topics, if this is when they'll miss Quenneville behind the bench. Not going to miss him during the regular season per se, but you wonder if not having Quenneville anymore as coach will haunt the Panthers come playoff time. Pat, very simply, is anybody going to take out Colorado in the West?
Well, listen, for the last 3 years, I have put Colorado in the final. And for the last 3 years, I've been disappointed. And I'll tell you why. They're fast, they're skilled, they have a dynamic decor, but their problem has been the goaltending. It just seems to, Grubauer was great during the regular season last year, didn't have a great playoff. They've, obviously we know Darcy Kemper is their number 1. Darcy Kemper may have been the best goalie in the league last year, but he was playing for Arizona. There was no pressure. They weren't going to make the playoffs. And so now if you're in the first round in Game 7, is he going to hold up? That's a big question mark. I also think that, they missed a guy like Eric Johnson, who was out last year with concussions, missed the whole playoffs. And I look at their D, and Cale Makar is phenomenal. But they've got some other D too that are not on the bigger side. And I think come playoff time, you need a horse back there that is going to pound and to kind of protect guys like McCarr and the other guys escaping me right now, but because these forwards, the regular season in the NHL or in the playoffs, you guys know, is completely different. I mean, you get hit every time you touch the puck. The game speeds up, and it's really, really taxing. And smaller defensemen have a harder time getting through.
Who's the player that's going to get moved at the deadline that's going to make the biggest impact in your estimation, Pat?
Well, shockingly, I think you guys have read it. Philippe Forsberg for the Nashville Predators. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Nashville is playing really well. Excuse me, and they're going to make the playoffs. And but I think they're looking like what, we're not going to be able to re-sign the guy. So, let's move them. And, and trust me, they're going to get an awful lot for Forsberg in return. So if you could acquire a guy like Forsberg who can score, and you get him the right center, he's a hell of a player. So I look at a guy like Forsberg that certainly could get moved. But then, you've got Thomas Hertl in San Jose. I mean, every team in the league, excuse me, if you ask them, what do they want? The hardest position, and that's up the middle. In fact, we're looking right now at Minnesota, a lot of depth, but they're not real strong up the middle. Eriksson Ek and Hartman have been really good, but they need that third guy to solidify, their lineup. So, there's Claude Giroux who's out there. Joe Pavelski is really going to be, after Forsberg, in my opinion, the most sought after centerman in the National Hockey League. He's a gamer. He scores in the playoffs. He's been a captain. He's a good guy. And so if Dallas doesn't make some sort of run to get in playoff position, they'll move him, and there'll be probably 20 teams that are going to go after him.
Pat, very quickly, do you think the Blackhawks do a fire sale? Because not only could they, in theory, get rid of Fleury, but, they could even start talking about Kane and Taves. My guess is they'd have to attach Taves to a Kane deal, but your gut feeling, you think the Blackhawks clean house?
Well, I think they will, and I think if they move Patrick Kane, I think they move the face of the franchise. He's the best American player in the world, in the U.S. I think that would be a mistake. I think any team would love to go after him. But you got a problem, guys. Both of their cap hits are $10 million. And quite frankly, are you going to get them just as a rental and then move them again, or move a bunch of guys out of your lineup? That's a problem. And with the salary cap at what it is, it's going to be very difficult. But hey, anytime you can get a Patrick Kane, you jump at it.
Pat, thanks so much for making time for us, particularly at this hour. Safe travels. Try to take in some of the high school tournament next week if you can, and hopefully we can do this again.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime. Thank you.
Pat Micheletti, Westwood 1, K-Fan in Minneapolis. Pat Mick 2626. That's how you can follow him on Twitter. Little pucks.
Little nitty gritty there for a bit of it.
Yeah.
Start talking trade deadline NHL, but we kind of have to.
All the Lightning and Panthers fans listening.
All the Lightning fan listening, you mean? Do you realize I have run into, there's apparently a Florida Panthers fan whose daughter is in gymnastics with my daughter, because every once in a while I see this couple walking in with Panther gear on.
Whoa! Wow, you don't even see that outside the arena. Is that a cheap shot?
It's accurate.
mean,
it's accurate. I mean, even Felipe, who has every single Miami team covered, has to use his father's Florida Panther jersey when he breaks it out every once in a while.
That is so true.
I mean, he's got 47 different Canes, Heat, Marlins, everything.
Hey, come on. Tomorrow, 12:30, Connor McDavid in Edmonton at the Panthers. Come on, Felipe. You drive
We
across
got
that
the
outlet.
Eagles tomorrow.
Look
Come
at
on.
this we. Just
That's the we that I deserve.
wow. Well, it's true. He does
Come
go
on.
does go to FGCU. They are the Eagles. Wow.
Big games tomorrow.
Look at
1 and 4 p.m. Show up.
wow.
Wow.
He's all in.
Didn't even wait for the bonus hour for that local plug.
Yeah, he he missed their big win on Wednesday. He didn't even watch, didn't even pay attention. He was like, "Wait, what?" Now it's all in.
Yeah, I was all set to go over tomorrow. But like I said, Buddy comes to town for the weekend. I haven't seen him in quite a while. And I'm like,
Well, go to the game. The two of you. You'd spend time on the
and
drive.
what, tell
be
him
at
to
the
leave
game?
his 3 kids at the hotel?
Oh, he's got the kids.
Take the kids to the game.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what they'll want to do.
Come on, hockey's great. So little pucks for you. There you are. Just a little taste. Little taste. Our poll question. By the way, I'm glad our guest enjoyed the poll question.
I am too.
All right. Which league's going to survive the longest? The USFL, the Saudi Golf League, or Major League Baseball?
Major League Baseball winning, surprisingly.
Wow.
I voted
Wow.
for the Saudi Golf League.
Right, because the money's not going anywhere. Fox has only agreed to $150 million to bankroll this USFL for 3 years. The Saudi Golf League's like, yeah, we can wait this out. Our money's not going.
I like hearing with Micheletti talking about, as excited as we are of the potential of a Panther Lightning playoff matchup again, it's nice to hear someone who covers the game nationally go, oh, can't wait either. Because that's never been said about those two franchises. Last year, we finally got it, and it was wonderful.
And someone nationally who picked the Florida Panthers to win Lord Stanley's Cup. How about that?
When you turn that pick in to your editor, do you think you get a call back going, hey, are you sure about that?
You do know they haven't won a playoff series since they went to the finals in 96, Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan will join us next hour. Also at the top of the hour, we will ask you, would it count? Would the championship count in your estimation? Miller and Moulton.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pressing the buttons. Press button.
You're damn right.
Button press.
Yes.
Most important thing that there is.
Apparently, that's it. That's the most important
So
thing
the
you
Bonnies
do.
made it to the next 4 outline.
Huh.
with Belmont getting whacked. They won. The Bonnies won this week,
Yeah.
2 days ago. In fact, I thought they beat Rhode Island.
They did. It was only 500 right now. Right.
Oregon's in the first 4 outline with that win yesterday. He's only got 3 Pac-12 teams in. USC's 24-4. He's got him as a 6 seed. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm still I'm a 24-month subscriber. Good news is it's does it automatically. I didn't know that, David.
Oh, really?
I've been subscribed for 24 months.
Have you?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Is this a Twitch or the
Twitch.
Athletic?
Athletic's about the same. I paid my second. I'm not there yet.
How in the world, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, can you add Ryan Pace to your front office? Does anybody think Ryan Pace did a good job with personnel with the Bears? No. I'm being drop dead serious.
A tight end.
I'm being drop dead serious here. Ryan Pace chose Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson. And
Patrick Mahomes.
Well, no. But to be fair, no one thought Mahomes was going to turn into this. No one.
Okay.
But you got to remember, they played in the same conference, Trubisky and Deshaun Watson.
Wow. Boy, there's the anti-war protest in
Russia.
St. Petersburg is humongous.
Yeah.
And remember, they're trying to arrest them all. I
know. You can get arrested, and there's a good chance after you get arrested, we don't know what happens to you.
Right.
Yeah. You protest, you go missing in these kind of parts of the
safety in numbers.
There you go. 30 seconds.
Oh boy. We may have to get Wallach on. He forwarded a long, lengthy legal piece here about, I'll have to read it here.
Saudi Golf League.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the top of our final hour for those of you in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. And for those of you in the 239, we are halfway home. Miller and Moulton on this Friday, the Florida Sports Network. Text the show, FSN Radio to 21,000, all one word, FSN Radio to 21000 if you never have before. For those of you that have, you are chiming in a big way this morning. And many of you watching, more and more of you, on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. We appreciate that. And if you watch, give us a follow. Want to subscribe? That's awesome, but give us a follow. It makes Mark very happy.
I want to explain something to everyone right now. But I just would like you to listen for just a couple of seconds. The banter that we have been talking about an SEC champion taking on the champion from the other leagues is merely based off of an article that was written in The Athletic. This is not happening. This is not being proposed by anyone.
Well, it can't for 4 more years.
I got you, but I'm reading text after text of, is college football killing itself between the transfer portal, NIL, and now this garbage? This garbage is merely something that Miller and Moulton brought up because of an article. This garbage is not reality, at least not yet. It's not even being proposed.
At least not yet. Now, when is the first time that this could truly be discussed as a reality? Probably in a couple of years when the powers that be in college football sit down and go, so how are we going to handle these TV negotiations? And for the record, the reason that the Big Ten claims is why they voted against the 12-team playoff effective immediately. 8-3 was the vote, in case you missed it. 8 conferences voting for the 12-team playoff. The Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC voting as a block. The Alliance, remember, they formed it in August? Well, they voted as a block against it. The Big Ten's reasoning, Mark, was that if we do it immediately, ESPN has the whole tournament. And then per the contract, ESPN gets right of first refusal. The Big Ten and other conferences are looking at the NFL model going, you know, you make a lot more money when you can get 3, 4, 5 entities involved in your playoffs.
And I tend to agree with the Big Ten on that. First off, I'm fine with 4 for a couple more years.
And you're going to have it for 4 more seasons.
And I'm I'm okay with 4 until infinity. I know that's not going to happen.
And I only want it to go to 6. And I understand that that's not on the table and is not going to happen.
Right.
My favorite playoff is 6.
But because you and I both like 6, and you and I both know 6 is never going to happen.
Correct.
Ever. I'm fine with 4 as long as they want to keep it at 4. I like 4 better than 8 or 12.
But what Andy Staples wrote from The Athletic was, you know, if you're the SEC, you tried to be nice, and that's basically what Greg Sankey said out loud after the vote was 8-3. He goes, well, I tried to give you all what you said you wanted, figuring, you know, we're going to get teams in a 14 playoff, 6, 8, 12, you know, okay, fine. Don't know if I'll be so nice in 4 years. And then Andy talked to a couple of people in the SEC offices in which the SEC's like, you know, we could probably do our own tournament. To be brutally honest with you, we could do our own tournament.
And therein lies an article. You got to write so many of these. David, you used to write columns.
Oh,
When there's a gift, you take it. And that's all this is. It's a gift column. And I saw it about a week ago. We thought about talking about it earlier this week. We didn't. David and I, before the show, said, David looked at me and goes, what do you got on your mind? I said, you know, we haven't talked about this whole college football playoff yet. And we know our audience likes them some college football.
and by the way, don't think it's not possible. If for no other reason than we threw this topic out 40 minutes ago and just asked you, is it a legitimate college football national championship if you don't have to play the SEC and or the SEC is not even involved in the tournament? I mean, Mark, I don't know if there's like in basketball, like let's just say one conference wanted to break away from the others. I mean, for as much as Duke and Carolina are 2 of the only 4 to 7 blue bloods in the sport, I actually think if for whatever reason the ACC pulled out of the NCAA tournament, that most of the country would go, well, that's a dumb move by you. And they would honor the rest of the conferences and whoever emerged from the 68-team bracket. You know,
But
in
in
football,
football,
we asked you, does the SEC have to be included in the tournament for you to consider it a national championship? Or when they raised that banner And like Felipe is a young Miami Hurricanes fan. And while he doesn't remember the glory days, he wasn't even born for damn near all of it. But, if the Canes were to, in the future here, win the national championship with the SEC not involved in the national championship, when the Miami Hurricanes celebrated the 2027 college football national championship, and you look at the banners there of 83 and 87 and 89 and 91 and 2001, would you go, yeah, that's not the same? Or would you go, yep, absolutely,
Hell, had to win more games now than we did then.
had to play more conferences for that matter, let's go, damn right it counts? And that's our question to you. And the other reason why it could happen, come on now, money. If you're a television network, first off, every network in 2 years outside of the ESPN family of networks cannot get their hands on the SEC product. ESPN owns the whole conference in every sport in 2 years. If the SEC decides to do their own tournament, they're going to look at ESPN and basically say, hey, here's the price. You need to meet it, or else our semifinals may end up back on CBS or NBC or Amazon or whatever. And money, they can get it. The Big Ten and the SEC can get it.
And to me, if those two conferences together took their ball, it would be a lot more legitimate. I don't think any one conference is going to be able to pull this off. But the SEC has obviously the best teams. What I wonder is, you'd said earlier, David, this would be watered down if they went to 6 to a playoff. Do you think ESPN would be, in your scenario, ESPN would be forced to pay more money? Do you think they would?
Yes. Yeah. To keep it off of the other networks. Yes. Yeah. They'd raise the price of ESPN Plus. They'd raise, even though people are cutting the cord daily, they would raise the price of, those that are still paying for the cord. Yeah. They'd do whatever they had to do. Yeah. They're trying to afford it all. I mean, and they damn near are. I mean, there's not much now. They don't have, for 15 years, they didn't have their hands in hockey. What'd they do? They went back out their hands in hockey. $400 million a year. They own college football playoff.
They own all of college basketball.
Regular season.
Right.
But that's the only big thing, by the way, that they really don't have their hands in. I mean, it is remarkable that CBS and Turner were able to keep that package away from ESPN. Remarkable.
That's the only one left.
Yeah. They got that. They're back because they're back.
Now they got Super Bowls.
Right. They're back in. Had to pay $3 billion. Guess what? Found the money. That's annually, by the way. It's annually. To get the Monday Night Football schedule, which oftentimes is the worst schedule, and to get the worst playoff games, and to get the fewest Super Bowls. Right. You guys have to pay the most money. Done.
But they need it for all their content.
Right.
Because their entire network now runs off of the NFL and the NBA. They really haven't jumped into NHL shows.
I'm waiting for NHL Tonight to make a comeback. I don't think it will. Well, although, don't they do something on Plus? Doesn't Linda Cohn or someone do something on Plus?
Because I still haven't bought into Plus.
I will say, it's a really good deal.
I'll get it at some point with the Disney and the Hulu. It's a matter of time. I still haven't watched Brockmire, so, just for that alone, I've got to get it.
11 minutes past the hour. We'd like to thank Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters for being proud sponsors of Miller and Moulton. A reminder, Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves. Motorcycles, ATVs, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Filters. Up online or by going to your local Napa Auto Parts store. Miller and Moulton, here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, the Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, the Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
There's someone protesting in St. Petersburg in English has a sign that says, Dear Putin, let's speed up the part where you cure yourself in a bunker.
Wow.
That's pretty funny.
It is. Oh, Klecko, he was definitely a very good player. Couple Pro Bowls, couple 1,000-yard seasons. And he was the last 00, Klecko. I think it was Jim Otto and Ken Burrow were the last 2 00s. I know Burrow was the last.
I did one of the most creative things I've ever done in my life the other day. And to find out what it is, tap my Twitter header.
Adam, I don't know what you mean by that question, but the answer is it's only helping it. Yeah, that contract will work.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
18 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan to join us coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time. To recap everything going on in the sports world, 4 days down, 4 to go, Mark. Major League Baseball players and owners getting absolutely, positively nothing accomplished. Nothing at all. I mean, I will say this. The players are looking at the owners going, we're not blinking, but we're ready to negotiate. If you just make us one legitimate offer in which we feel like you're taking us seriously, we could probably sit down and get this thing done. But if you're going to keep doing this, well, this is going to get really ugly. Just so you know, we ain't caving. And right now the owners are like, not so sure about that. We're going to keep jerking your chain.
That seems to be it. And one of the things that found this John Sheehan guy who writes on baseball, and he basically said, look at, the owners could give the players everything that they're asking for. Every single thing currently that the players want, as is. And he said with the amount of revenue that's out there, the owners would still win the deal going away. And claims that they're lighting baseball on fire for no real reason.
Does make you wonder, though, if deep down the owners know this, and so they're just going to push the players seemingly to the brink and see if they buckle. But if they don't, that the owners will go, okay. You won. You got us. Good job by you. Or if the owners just don't see it that way.
Well, they never do.
Right. So 4 days until and I got to be honest. I do think there will be damage, because I also don't think that they'll come to a deal 2 days after the deadline, if you know what I mean. Like, I think if this deadline, first off, it would not shock me, Mark, if the owners just get up at the end of the day on February 28th and just go, well, we tried, but you guys don't want to do a deal, so we're going to start missing games. And they actually get up and leave.
Something that you said a while back has stuck in my head the entire time. Knew this, but you just reminded me of it. Just how god-awful attendance in the month of April is in baseball. Opening day is great. After that is
Not
the
so
worst
much.
month of the year.
By far.
And the owners know that. I know they get TV money and they want their TV money.
Yep.
But I'm with you that if this doesn't get done by Monday, I have a feeling we're looking at May 1st.
Because remember, you're not playing every day at home. So, yeah, if you lose, 30 games, well, you're only losing 15 home dates. You're only losing 15 home dates with your cable sponsor there. NBA resumed, Mark, after the All-Star break yesterday. Had about 7 games, I guess it was. Best game of the night, T-Wolves, who are to be taken seriously, finally. It's been a while. Beat Memphis at home. And the Celtics, I think, are to start being taken seriously. They're letting people know, we're pretty good. We figured things out. Our 2 young studs have figured out how to play together. We've put guys around them that can shared the ball properly, and not only that, we can play defense. So Celtics whooped up on the Nets yesterday by 23. Phoenix and Golden State, both big winners as they continue to roll in the West. It is worth noting, though, Memphis losing, Golden State winning, a little more cushion for Golden State to be the two. You know, you start looking at down the road in the playoffs. I mean, I think Golden State would prefer to have home court over the Grizz.
Well, and I looked last night. Detroit beat Cleveland. If you're Cleveland, if you're the Bulls, if you're Miami, if you're these teams that are trying to get top 4 seeds in the East, you can't lose games to the likes of the Detroit Pistons down the stretch. You know, it's one thing to lose, and you're going to lose games the rest of the way, but you cannot lose to, you know, one of the worst teams in the league.
College hoops last night. Ohio State won the Big Ten showdown on the road with Illinois. Terrific finish to that game. Oregon trying to play their way in, beat UCLA. They did so in Eugene last night. They go for the Southern California sweep. They've swept UCLA. They try to do the same to USC over the weekend. San Fran on the bubble, got beat by Gonzaga by 16. Belmont on the bubble, lost by 33 at Murray State. Murray State is a tournament team. They're ranked, but still, 33-point loss. Week before the conference tournament. Yikes. Hockey last night, Zdeno Chara set a record, Mark. No defenseman's ever played in more games. 1,652.
He dropped the gloves last night, dropped them last week, drops them about once a week right now. He's 45 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
By the way, he's so big when he drops the gloves, he doesn't lose fights either.
Did you see what he did yesterday? So he roughs up the guy who took him on. And he plays for the Islanders, and they lost to San Jose. So he fights the guy from the Sharks. And when the fight's over, he gives him a hug, and he pats him on top of the head. He's just like, listen, I had to do this.
But that's what the kid's doing. I know I don't want to fight you, old man. The last thing I want to do, but we need a spark right now, and I've got to fight you.
He's like, I don't.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Man, I got T-shirts older than you, but
got
okay.
His ass kicked, too.
Yeah,
you know how hard it's to fight somebody 6'8"?
Well, I don't, but I can only imagine.
It just can't be fun.
Hey, Mark, I'm 5'10". It's tough for me to fight somebody 5'8". And then there's the Saudi Golf League, apparently not willing to go away quietly into the good night. Greg Norman, who is essentially, I mean, is he officially the commissioner? What is he of this golf league? I mean, he's Grand Poobah, right?
I think that's the exact title, as a matter of fact. He's Grand Poobah.
He's certainly the face of it. He sent a letter to PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. That letter conveniently was leaked because I'm sure the PGA Tour is laughing at it. And so Norman began the letter with "Surely you jest" and ended it with, "This is just the beginning. It certainly is not the end." But the big issue in the letter, and don't you think this is going to have to get legally played out?
Maybe.
Is the PGA Tour contending that if you go and play in one of their events, you're ineligible to play on the PGA Tour? Most people don't believe the PGA Tour can get away with that, right?
All right. John Nucci's a lawyer. Daniel Wallach, who we've had on the show, is a lawyer, Conduct Detrimental. John Nucci wrote a piece that Conduct Detrimental put on their website. At the end of the day, what he says in his conclusion is he says, despite the inevitable legal challenges that the PGA Tour would face, he thinks the tour would prevail in both Section 2 and Section 1 of the antitrust challenges. He goes on to say that old players, it may be their last payday. However, young players should not defect, given the prestige of the tour and its majors and the inevitable loss of endorsement opportunities and a significantly harmful impact on their legacies. And says that's why Woods, Rahm, and McIlroy have all spoken out against the tour, and many young golfers will follow. He doesn't know if the lawsuit would hold up.
So you mean to tell me that as an independent contractor, the PGA Tour would still have the right to say you're banned? Because here's the other part that I don't understand. I know it's called the Saudi Golf League, but it is a part of the Asian Tour. The PGA Tour currently allows its players to play tournaments on the European Tour, tournaments on the Asian Tour. The majors accept players from the Asian Tour.
One of the points that he makes is that they are independent contractors, but they agree to honor and abide by regulations and codes, including the player handbook and code of ethics. The player also acknowledges that the tour's commissioner has the authority to ban a player from playing certain events if they violate its rules. That's the gray area. Andrew Brandt always says there will be lawyers.
Yes.
There will be lawyers, David. But
there's no doubt.
This particular lawyer thinks that the tour's in a better spot than Greg Norman does, to say the very least.
Well, a friend of the show who is an attorney just chimed in our Twitch chat room and says, but he doesn't believe the PGA Tour has any antitrust status. Like the NFL has a partial exemption. Major League Baseball is the only one of the major sports that has a full exemption.
Correct. And what this attorney is saying in this piece, and again, I'm not going to argue with an attorney, nor I'm just reading what this attorney says. He does not think by the way the PGA Tour is assembled that it would violate antitrust laws. He thinks that they would win against both Act 1 and Act 2 of the Sherman Antitrust. Yes, you are 100% correct in that they do not have antitrust status. This attorney does not think they violate antitrust laws with this. Greg Norman does. Seems to be an area of dispute.
Right. But as we brought up, let's just say you're a member of the PGA Tour and you want no part of this Saudi Golf League. But isn't there a part of you that says, I don't know if I'm crazy about a commissioner getting a bug up his and just saying, by the way, you go do this, you're banned and you're banned for life. Whoa, hold on here. I'm sorry. I mean, we're willing to give you a lot of power. We've given you a lot of power. That kind of power? You are going to take my complete and utter livelihood away?
One way to squash competition, David.
I mean, don't you think that would run counter to, if you could bring that up in the room and say to the guys, let's take the whole Saudi Golf League thing out of it. Okay, let's just talk in general. There's another issue that comes up. Are we sure? This is supposed to be our tour, right? Are we really going to give the commissioner that much power? See if it has legs. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan, he will run on in next here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pushing the buttons. Pushing the buttons. I'm pushing P out here.
Klecko, what's interesting about that McCord thing is like 10 or so years ago, CBS went to McCord and say, hey, we want to talk to Augusta about you. It's been long enough, that sort of deal. And McCord said, don't. McCord said, I'm fine. In fact, I don't think I want to come back. Yes, Guillermo. Yes. Yep. It was not only bikini wax, it was body bags. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was he was doing 17 and he says, "Yeah, you don't want to go over the green here." All right. That shoulder is like bikini wax and it rolls to the bottom, and that's where the body bags are.
It's freezing in here.
It did get nippy.
I mean, freezing. It went from hot to like I can't drink enough coffee to stay warm cold.
Yeah, I don't think Ben was banned from Augusta, though. I think he just got fired by CBS.
Wow, the back page of the Post is about the broadcasters, all the money the broadcasters are getting. Insanity with the S as a dollar sign.
Which is funny. I think it's, the Katie Couric thing of 20 plus years ago. This is a $20 billion annual league. These networks are spending $2 billion plus. ABC, ESPN spending almost $3. But no. If you know, and if you look at it that way.
No, I know, but they've never wrote articles in papers about how much all these guys are making, and now they're starting to. It just
right. Well, I will say, since Marchand is now the guy who's getting the info on this, if you're the Post, you just go nuts with it.
Right.
Plus, it's people like to talk about this stuff. I slept really well last night. Don't know why. Went to bed at a decent hour.
Pat's on hold. 10 seconds. Gave me some motivation. He's like, "You sound like you were up," and I'm like, "I'm just busy with school." And he's like, "You're on the right path, Felipe. Keep going." Thanks, man.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"23 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Our poll question at that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton, at FL Sports Network, and on FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Which league is going to last the longest? The USFL, the Saudi Golf League, or Major League Baseball? That's our poll question. I think that's snarky. That goes right past being a wise guy. I think that went right to snarky.
No doubt. No doubt.
Pat Kirwan's kind enough to join us once again. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains weekday afternoons, and Pat joins us every week, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. I don't know, snarky. You guys are something else. You didn't even put the XFL in there. Come on.
Next year.
A couple other.
Next year,
Yeah.
Pat. We'll wait till it just gets off the ground before we include it in something like that.
Well, I think if they're waiting, it's good. 2 or 3 could fall to the wayside as they enter.
That's true.
And a strategic start for them would be to wait. So, yeah, the NFL sounds like they want to help them out, so that might be a reason they last. What else is new, fellas? I mean, I'm just getting ready for the combine. I'm heading out there very early Tuesday morning, and 15, 20 interviews a day. Hopefully I'll have plenty of things to say to you guys about everyone I interview, because they're just going to keep rolling them through
Pat,
now that the bubble's done.
curious because you guys take a lot of calls, and so you're interested in the pulse of the fan bases. And Mark and I were just talking during the break. Do the NFL fans care about the announcers and who's making what and who's broadcasting what games? Has that come up in the last couple days on your show, or no?
I always ask the same question when we get into that topic, which I was hoping we'd get into today, David, is does anyone care who's doing the game when they turn it on? And the answer almost every time is no, I don't care. Occasionally, you'll get a negative response, someone who doesn't like someone, but no one feels, at least that call our show, I turned this game on because this guy's doing it. Now, they don't. I don't think they really care that much. And so when we pay these guys what we pay them, and I'm all for it, God bless them, but why? And they're not really, to the viewer, they're not that important. A lot of guys say things. They like to turn the sound off. That should really invite a couple of them, and put the radio on with their local feed from the radio guys. People say that to me quite regularly.
Totally get it. Having to sync up now, now with HD, and it's a little bit of work. You've got to actually sync it up to do it right. But I get it. And Pat, of the three of us, I'm the one that's watching more games from my couch than the two of you combined, because you're working for the respective networks and doing your thing. For the life of me, I don't get it. An announcer can make me turn him off as far as turning the sound down, but I'm not changing the game or turning the game on. If anything, the only thing that brought me in, Pat, as a viewer, I will say the Manning cast was something different. I learned a little bit during that game because it was done differently. Those are the things that interest me. Some of those college games when they have the coaches room in there, I can't do it every week, but sometimes, we want to learn more as a football fan. And I don't know if the broadcast necessarily give us that anymore.
Well, I am a fan of Troy Aikman. That's fact. I think Troy, in his own quiet, analytical way, can really throw some insight into the game. And I know that David's working with him. But there's a lot of research that says that fans want more football. They want more of the chess match, the diagnosis of it. And the producers, they don't. Here's how I see producers. If the producer doesn't understand what the analyst named Troy Aikman or anyone else is saying, they try to dumb them down. Hey, whoa, that's too much football. The average fan, I love that. The casual fan, what is a casual fan? Why are we so worried about them all the time? How about the guys who love football and no one's trying to pay attention to them? It really sets me up on Mondays because I tell them all, when they say if they didn't cover something you want to talk about, let's cover it now. So, yes, I think fans in general, real fans, but we worry more about the casual fan. What is a casual fan? He puts the game on for a half hour, then he goes out and cuts his lawn. Who is the casual fan? I don't know. But we care more about him than anyone else.
Well, Pat, it's an interesting point, and you've had to deal with consultants. The two of us have had to deal with consultants in radio. I had to deal with them in television, and I used to get into what would end up being an argument. Because, I know. Because they're trying to reach, most people don't watch the news for sports and this, that, and the other thing. And I would say, listen, forget sports. Isn't everyone more interested in something the more they know about it? Okay, shouldn't we be trying to actually tell them more, give them more. I would say the same thing, like, not to be stereotypical, but my wife is not a sports fan. She's not. She tolerates it. All right. But over time, she's learned more about certain sports, and she will say, hey, that is now interesting. I understand what you're talking about. This interests me. I don't know why we're trying to dumb down sports.
Because the people that make the decision don't know anything about sports. They think they do, and then the second they hear something they don't understand, they want to stop that. And I hate generalizations, which I just made, but I've had more experiences with people trying to, oh, no. And I hear, this is exactly how it sounds. No, that's too much football. That's not good. They don't want to hear that. I tell them all the time, I'm on the radio 4 hours a day, every day. So I know better than you what they want. And we have millions of listeners. But if you think you know, go ahead. Let's go your way. It's very frustrating, and I know you know this, David. It's very frustrating to the football guys that are on these shows that know the game, that want to talk the game, and basically get told, no, just sit here and look like a guy they remember from a Super Bowl a couple years ago. That's what it feels like.
Mark, the one thing I will say is Richie Zients is the executive producer of the A Game, if you will, on Fox, and he is from the John Madden school. I mean, he goes all the way back to Madden's first days at CBS, and John was all about the game. All about the game. Now, if you showed something funny, he'd comment about it, but he was all about the game, and he wanted it to be more and more about the game. And Richie Zients is probably the producer that is more about the game. I mean, he doesn't even like to throw it down to the sidelines. Like Aaron and Tom Rinaldi have to have something really significant to him to go down to the sideline person. He only wants to do the game.
I'm with him, and so I'm with a guy named Wayne Fiddleman. Wayne, I know he knows your guy. Wayne traveled with Madden for years, and he said the production meetings with John were legendary. The producers didn't run them. Now, I'm in a lot of production meetings. They're run by producers. John Madden ran the meetings, and they were long, and they were tedious, and he was making sure that when he wanted to go to this pulling guard, you better be ready to go. So I absolutely hear you loud and clear, but I think they tolerated John because he was so popular, but right after John left, they were looking for bobblehead dolls.
I'm dangerous to ask this question, Pat, because I know you're going to the Combine on Tuesday. I know you're probably getting ready for the Combine on a daily basis. But an overview of the talent this year, are there some position groups that you're really excited to see? You've been to the Senior Bowl, so you've got a pretty good idea from that. Are there a handful of position groups you're more excited to see than others, or are you not there yet, Pat?
No, I'm getting there pretty close now. I'm working on tight ends this morning when I get off of you. Quarterbacks, I'm real nervous if you need one that has to start. I don't think it's a very good year. That's been said by a lot of guys. The running backs won't be drafted in the first round, but when you get in rounds 2, 3, and even 4, you're going to get a guy that can play. The wide receiver group has about 5 first-rounders, as long as the medicals come back clear, and we have a couple of guys with medical history, and they'll see how that goes. So that receivers, the tight end group is packed with what I'd call mid-round guys. They're all over the place. There were a lot of them at the Senior Bowl. I think we had about 8 of them that I consider rounds 3, 4, and 5. And then you got to marry this with free agency, Mark. The offensive tackle group should have 3, maybe 4, maybe stretch it out to 5 in the first round. The guards and centers have a couple of really good players. People don't like to take centers. I think the Iowa center will go in the first round. I love the Boston College kid. If he's at the top of the second round, you're stealing one. Kickers, I have no opinion of those guys. Defensive ends, not bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 in the first round. When it comes to guys that can rush the passer, you got to get them anyway. People will take some chances there. A couple of big inside players on the defensive line. So linebackers will go late. They're not going in the first round, most likely. And I'm on to safeties, which I'm not ready for yet. We have them later in the week. So I'll be in my room at night working on the defensive backs, trying to catch up on Tuesday night.
Pat, are the offensive tackles as good as advertised? Because every time I see a mock draft, and I know I listen to you guys at the Senior Bowl, listen to Paul Alexander, your line coach that you have on all the time, in which he seems to speak glowingly of this year's tackle class. I mean, are we going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 of these guys in the first round?
I don't know that may, I don't think 8, but I do think 5 is a realistic number. We know that Neal and Ekwonu and Cross for sure. Penning put on a show at the Senior Bowl, big physical right tackle. How many guys take a right tackle? I think when it's all said and done, he'll make it to the bottom of the first round. The big Minnesota kid, he's 375 pounds, maybe the bottom of the first round. That Lucas kid from Washington State, he was at the Senior Bowl, not kind of disappeared during the week. But when you go back and watch the tape, there's some things about him athletically. I would think the number's 6, David, that'll get there. And then we'll start moving into other things. There's too many other tempting guys. Sooner or later, a couple of these quarterbacks might go at the bottom of the first round and knock out a tackle. If you need a quarterback and you're at the bottom third of the round, you're probably thinking, if I don't take him here, he'll be gone, and I might want that 5th-year option. So that's why I think it'll stop at 6 for the tackles. I wish it was more. They're safe picks. You pick a tackle. No one's going to criticize you. If he's not ready, you put a tight end next to him, chip with the back. You can hide, run the protection to him. There's a lot of things you can do where no one will find out if he's ready or not. That's not the case with quarterbacks, pass rushers, cover corners. They get exposed right away.
Well, and Pat, you've said it all along. You don't like this quarterback class, so this is a draft that causes general managers to get fired, isn't it?
If you need a quarterback, this is a bad year to be looking for one. And I don't think we're going to have all the tradable guys that everyone, this is the time of year we like to make up stories. But right away, a month ago, I said, Jimmy Garoppolo's not going anywhere. And my friend Adam Schefter, yesterday made it clear that that might be possible. He's not going anywhere. Why would you let him go for $25 million when the other guy's not ready? So you start looking around at the list, and that big name free agent list, that'll dwindle down. The trade list will dwindle down, and then you're going to get stuck looking at these guys. Jim Miller likes Ritter a lot from Cincinnati. I'm not really I do like a couple things about him. I think Pickett will get in the first round somewhere, but man, if you have to play any of these guys next year, that would scare me.
You know who intrigues me amongst the quarterbacks in this year with the free agent class? Trubisky.
Me too.
Listen, he was a project that the Bears made a big mistake on. I mean, they never should have gone 2nd overall. He should have been the guy who went 23rd, and he sat a year and the whole deal. And quite frankly, his coaches and GM didn't do him any favors with the talent around him. But he does have ability. He's athletic. He's got a strong arm. And he managed to win far more games in Chicago than we gave him credit for. I mean, he's about 25 years old, Pat? I mean, if you're Carolina and you took a flyer on Sam Darnold, if you're New Orleans, if you're Washington, I mean, Trubisky's got to be intriguing, doesn't he? You might catch a really good quarterback on the cheap.
I absolutely agree with you. And back to Tannehill when Miami said we don't want him anymore, and no one cared. No one cared in Tennessee he was coming. No one cared in Miami he was leaving. No one cared. Now, this guy has a lot of really good traits. It's funny, I was at the hockey game with a retired NFL head coach, and he said to me, "Isn't it funny? Trubisky takes a year off and his stock went up. He didn't do one thing, and his stock went up." Well, and I think it's because people now look back and say, wait, he took him to the playoffs twice. He wasn't ready for pro football. What do you have, a dozen starts in college? It wasn't his fault. I have talked to him, and he has loved his year in Buffalo. I think he's a guy. And the other guy that I would take a chance on is Mariota. I think Mariota, when I was out there watching him practice, he, this idea of getting away from it all, getting into the shadows, taking a chill pill, if you will, and reinventing yourself. Mariota might come out of this as a much better player than people remember.
Pat, where would you have, Sam Darnold was the big talk last year, and everybody thought Carolina was getting something. I don't know if they got anything or not, and they're already looking for a new quarterback. Where did you have when you compared Darnold to Trubisky coming out of draft? Were they close? Was Darnold better? Because before we start getting all into Trubisky, and it's interesting, and I find it fascinating, but where was he compared to Darnold?
Well, I didn't think either one was ready. So the thing I didn't like about Darnold was anytime not anytime, but many of the times you pressured him, he'd throw an interception. Trubisky to me looked just like a talented, athletic kid that just didn't know enough football to get on an NFL field. And the first year he did pretty well. And then what do you think they did in Chicago? They doubled down on the playbook. And I'll never forget the opening game against Green Bay. He looked terrible. But they thought he was ready for step 2. What he really was ready for is to repeat step 1 and make that solid ground in his mind of how to play. He has natural skills and he can run around. I will say this, and this is true for Sam as well, but mostly Trubisky. When Trubisky was getting railroaded out of Chicago and had to stand on the sideline, never once did you hear from him. Never once did he have a peep of complaints. Never once did his agent put stories out there that he's getting screwed on the job. But no, I think the guy's got some character to him too. So I know guys that have coached him. They like him. They think that he's got a chance. I think David's right. I think. And look, if we start thinking about who should he go to, he needs to go to a place that at the worst he's competing to start. That would be Pittsburgh. That's one. A place, Houston, Denver, Washington. Those places.
Yep. Absolutely.
Win the job.
Pat, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Have a great weekend. Look forward to talking to you from the Combine.
Very good, fellas. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, weekday afternoons, moving the chains, brought to you courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. For those of you, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, have a great weekend. The bonus hour is next. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I saw that, Johnny O. We were talking about it. She was also Dangerfield's love interest in Back to School. where she played the hot English teacher. It is, of all the things, because they really, Hawkeye and Trapper John, they have pretty close from movie to show. But Robert Duvall as Frank Burns to whoever Larry Linville. I mean, that is probably the biggest change of character. I think Radar was the only one in both, right? And the original Preacher was in like the first MASH, and then William Christopher took over as Father Mulcahy. Because I think the guy that was in the movie was in the first, whether it was couple shows, first couple episodes before William Christopher, I believe that's his name, took over as Father Mulcahy. Jocularities. I've always wanted to drop in from the movie MASH. There's the line where they're sitting there where either the general or the colonel's talking to Blake, and he says, we get the guys together, we play a little football, we put some money on it. It's really American. What? Betting on it? No, football.
We got Sobel here.
Yes. Let's take Pat off the thing then. My guy Rick Lamb's one off the cut after yesterday. Doubled the last hole, par 5. Was 112 in the middle of the fairway and 2, hit it in the bunker. Must have short. I mean, my guess is he short-sided himself and then hit it on the green and 3-putted.
Or left it in the bunker.
No, he hit it on the green and he had an 80-foot putt. So I don't know what.
He
I don't know.
Scolded
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he thinned one over the darn. Tees off at 135. He's going to have to shoot 1 under today.
Jason's on hold, bracket 30.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour, the final hour of our week, and thanks for ending your week with us. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Jason Sobel is kind enough to join us once again. He writes for the Action Network, and you can hear him on PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. Follow Jason on Twitter, Jason Sobel, TAN, which stands for The Action Network, Jason Sobel, TAN. Jason, it's David and Mark once again. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, guys. Good to speak with you.
Well, Jason, can we go back? We had a poll question a couple days ago, and you answer it. With everything that's gone on here, has it cost Phil Mickelson ever captaining a Ryder Cup team?
Maybe. It's a solid maybe. Is there a maybe on there? Is there an undecided?
No.
Is there a none of the above? I don't know yet. I think we need to see how this thing plays out. As of right now, I think maybe. But is there a scenario where Phil makes amends and Phil speaks with humility and talks about, hey, I'm so sorry, and it got away from me, and hey, we kind of let it slide, and a year from now we're like, were we really mad about that Saudi stuff that he never even did? He was just exploring. Yeah, I think that's a very possible scenario that as time wears on, we look back and say, you know what, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, let him back into the club, let him go captain a Ryder Cup team, and we move on. But right now, in the moment, we're looking at it saying, no, of course not. He's basically committed golf treason. He's tried a coup to overthrow the PGA Tour and bring everybody to a Saudi Arabian government-funded new league that is trying to pull players away and give them money that's not necessarily coming from the best place. And so I can certainly see it both ways, but I will take a very solid undecided and sit on the fence on that question right now.
Fair enough. Do you think that Phil's suspended right now, or that he's actually taking time off?
I think he's taking time off. I think too often the public looks at suspensions as a Jay Monahan or some other executive with the PGA Tour calling up a Phil Mickelson and saying, we have suspended you, or sending them a letter. These things are a little more fluid than that. I would say that there may have been a conversation at some point, whether it was directly with Phil and directly from Monahan, I don't know, but there was, I'm guessing, a conversation at some point. Hey, you know what? For your good, for our good, like, let's, kind of be apart for a little while. You're in a relationship and you say, you know what? We both decided we need a break from each other. And he's kind of, I don't think it's a formal suspension. I don't know. I don't know exactly how you frame the suspension. In the rule book, there's, you can be suspended for conduct unbecoming the tour. Now, trying to forge a mutiny and bring players to a rival league, is that conduct unbecoming of the PGA Tour? Yeah, maybe, sort of. I don't know. I still think that part of what the PGA Tour is saying now, part of what Commissioner Monahan is saying about, we will ban any player who decides to go to another tour, another league. That doesn't really seem legal either. I mean, I'm no legal expert. That doesn't seem like something they can necessarily do, but they're very intent on quashing this thing as much as they can.
And they've been very successful. He's Jason Sobel. He writes about golf for the Action Network. You can listen to him on PGA Tour Radio, and you can follow him on Twitter at Jason Sobel, TAN. To maybe wrap things up here with Phil, I was just thinking about this as you were talking, that basically if one of the networks, CBS or NBC, it was a foregone conclusion a month ago, Jason, that Phil was going to end up being the television voice of golf for one of those two networks in the next handful of years. Don't you think that maybe that has to happen first in order for Phil to become a Ryder Cup captain? And if it doesn't, then that kind of foreshadows that, wow, he's done.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that Phil, so far over the last couple of months, especially over the past week or so, has done maybe irreparable damage to his reputation, to his image amongst the public. And I think that, it's very interesting to me. This is one of the most interesting parts of this, is that Phil Mickelson, perhaps more than any other athlete, not just any other golfer, but any other athlete over the last 3 decades, has done so much to cultivate a positive public image, whether it's giving thumbs up to the crowds or signing autographs or handing out gloves with $100 bills stuffed inside when he hits somebody outside the gallery ropes, leaving tips everywhere he goes for staffers who, anytime his name is brought up, bring up what a great guy Phil Mickelson is. He left me $100 on a $12 breakfast tip. Things like that he's done to cultivate that image, and all of a sudden he has torn that all down within a couple of months, and saying, hey, I'm essentially doing this for leverage, and I'm just trying to get the PGA Tour to give us more money. And he called it obnoxious greed from the PGA Tour, which seems like exactly what he's doing. So all of those things I think is going to damage his reputation forever in the eyes of at least some people in the public. That said, like I said, this whole thing, I could certainly see a scenario where everything blows over, and right now we're like, boy, this thing's hot right now, and Phil can't go anywhere or do anything because this thing is really burned out of control. 6 months from now, a year from now, where we go, you know what? Oh, I forgot about that whole Saudi thing that he was trying to do. What happened with that thing? Okay, and we move on, and he becomes a Ryder Cup captain, a television analyst. He plays all the major championships, and I do think life will move on for him. I don't think he's going to be seen in the same light by at least a larger percentage of the public. But other than that, I can see a scenario where not much changes for Phil Mickelson moving forward.
All right. Greg Norman responded with his letter. Surely you jest, and I am just getting started. I think started and ended it, something along those lines. How long is this fight going to be? How much there do you think that this Saudi tour is going to still have? It almost seemed like they went away on Sunday, and here we are 5 days later, and they're trying very eagerly to get back into the fight.
Yeah, I don't know what they're fighting for. I don't really quite understand exactly. This is like your local semi-pro football team sending a letter to the NFL saying, hey, don't forget about us. We're still here. Okay, well, you don't have any players that people want to watch, and you don't have any capital. I mean, what's sort of the point? I don't quite understand where Greg Norman is going with this thing. I get it that, hey, Rory McIlroy said the other day, like you mentioned there, that it's dead in the water, and I tend to agree with that right now. Although a week previously, I would have said, boy, this thing's really coming. This thing's absolutely going to happen. And so you never know. A week from now, things can change once again, and that wouldn't surprise me. That said, I don't quite know where Norman's going with this thing. It seems like a whole lot of bluster from Norman without any real content or context behind it, because I don't quite know, other than grasping at straws, where they're going with this. I mean, if they want to tell the PGA Tour, and maybe from a legal standpoint, they can say, hey, you can't ban players from playing the PGA Tour if they play our tour as well. Okay, they may have that, but and even if they win that battle, I still don't think players are going. I mean, we've seen statements from just about every top-name player over the past few weeks, whether it's a written statement or a verbal statement saying, I am not going to the SGL. I looked into it. I had my team speak with them. I did my due diligence, but I'm going to stick with the PGA Tour. So I don't know what Norman's fighting for right now. I don't quite understand it.
Jason, quickly, how strong is the Florida swing these days? And, there's constant tinkering of the tour with the schedule. It was brought up again in the meeting a few days ago. How strong is the Florida swing?
Strong is an interesting word, because I think we tend to look at strength in fields based on the top players. Last week, the big story entering the Genesis Invitational was that all 10 of the top 10 players, the world ranking, were in the field. And so that was a big deal. People want to watch the big name stars. 0 of the top 10 are at the Honda Classic this week. And so we say, okay, the strength isn't there. I still tend to think, like, this is kind of what it's always been. I mean, it's always sort of been, all right, one week's a really good week, the next week's not a great week, but hey, you still watch because they're great stories. There's still really good golfers out there, and this is sort of how we cultivate the guys who are going to be the next top 10 players. They go win a Honda Classic, and then they move on, and they become into that upper echelon. And so I don't, it's this one, the API next week will be a little bit better. We, of course, have the Players' Championship, which will have everybody in the field. Will look terrific, and then the Valspar Championship in Tampa afterwards, which will be decent once again. And is it going to be as strong as some other events that we saw on the West Coast? Is it going to be as strong as some bigger events that we see later this year? No, probably not. But I think that we tend to look at that word strong, strength of field, and just apply it to having the top players there, not necessarily the entirety of the event itself, which I still think, I mean, these are still really good events with world-class players.
Just out of curiosity, since the morning guys are off today and you do work for the Action Network, is there any head-to-heads you like this afternoon?
Oh, man, I've got to get my sheet out here because I got on a bunch of them last night. I give me some options.
Well,
I can't remember.
And I thought you might have one. That's on me because I looked at the field and I knew we were getting you later in the show, so I didn't see the afternoon heads to heads. But
yeah, I've got to look up what's more. I was watching a little bit this morning. I've got to look up kind of what I had in the morning, what I had in the afternoon. I will say I went on the post game show on SiriusXM's PGA Tour radio last night. They were asking me about, hey, what do you like for the betting markets going into round two? And quite frankly, I mean, other than, hey, I'm going to dip down and bet Daniel Berger at plus 350, 3.5 to 1, which sounds ludicrous going into round two. And, I can't believe any golfer would drop to odds that short without even having a lead going into the second day. The books are absolutely trying to put one over on the public there. And I hope nobody takes that. But other than that, I'd say, hey, stay the course. If there's a player that you really liked on Wednesday, and as long as it wasn't a Louis Oosthuizen or a Matthew Wolff who shot themselves out of it on Thursday, hey, back them again. I mean, this is a tournament that's going to have a ton of volatility. There's a lot of bogeys and double bogeys lurking around every corner. And so if you like the guy, if you did your research Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you like the player, he went out and shot even par, 1 over par, and he said, well, that's not great. He's 6-7 back right now. I would say, hey, don't be afraid to double down because that's not that far off the lead with 54 holes left to play, and they can get right back into this thing.
He's Jason Sobel, the Action Network, PGA Tour Radio. Follow him on Twitter, Jason Sobel, TAN, Jason Sobel, TAN. Jason, appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jason Sobel, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Just thinking about some of the golfers who, got names but haven't necessarily won in a little while. I mean, Justin Thomas hasn't won since last year's Players. And, usually top 10 golfers in the world don't go a year without winning.
Or they're no longer top 10 golfers.
Yeah, exactly. So, just kind of wondering about, Ricky Fowler's needing sponsors exemptions now to get in certain tournaments. He's fallen that far down. Remember last year he was supposedly coming back, had played it, didn't qualify for the Masters, but had played his way from a world ranking standpoint into it's fallen off the face of the earth again. So just, golf season heating up, players around the corner. Tiger, by the way, goes into the World Golf Hall of Fame right before the Players as well. 15 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, the Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, the Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Button pushed.
Do you know what was the only thing about that yesterday? And I said it to Marty was, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whenever this last quote unquote problem was, I thought we exchange numbers and they have a way to contact you. And that was what surprised me yesterday was that I know if I was where you are and that problem happened, I would have, as soon as we got to the top of the hour and into the segment, I would have called you at 8:02 and I would have been like, hey man, why didn't you hit the button? It didn't fire, And then you could have right then and there, literally, it was 5 minutes earlier. I mean, you would have remembered if you hit the button or not. And you could have said, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I hit the button.
Just gotta put it out in the record books,
All right.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, quite honestly, if someone were to ask the two of us 3 hours after our show, hey, did you do this in the, at 7:54 a.m.? We'd look at one another like, are you serious? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think we did.
I mean, it's natural at this point, and I do it with emphasis. I always go pop my head into it.
I tried to press upon Marty. I'm like, listen, if there are no problems in Lake City and they're paying attention, then it's a Port Charlotte problem.
Wow. And winning a Ford GT. That's pretty awesome.
You want to talk about a big mistake. DeMar DeRozan wanted to go to the Knicks, and the Knicks didn't show enough interest.
People were calling it the worst offseason signing. He's an MVP candidate. Top 3, in my opinion.
I will say they've got a team that doesn't play a lot of defense.
Yeah.
And the whole Tibbs and, defensive guys and all that. But,
right.
I mean, you can't sign Evan Fournier, over DeMar DeRozan. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. They said he couldn't gel along with Zach LaVine. Like, come on now.
Well, I will say, though, Zach's going to be a free agent. And he's already said, I ain't taking no discounts.
Oh, he's going to get some offers that are going to be very difficult to refuse. But we'll see how far they go this postseason. I don't know. They got something good going on in Chicago. I'd hate to see that just break up. And they just signed Vucevic. All right, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think DeRozan's higher on the MVP chart than Steph.
No.
Steph has had a horrible shooting year.
Do you listen to NBA radio? Because I do.
What does NBA?
Well,
NBA
because
radio
it's
accomplish?
but first off, the people on NBA radio actually vote for MVP.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So when they say, "Here's who's leading the MVP race," considering they're voting, but no, he's not in the top 5.
You don't think?
Not before the All-Star break, he wasn't. Trust me, they did show after show about it. He wasn't in the top 5. Now,
David, obviously, you in listening and all the people you're paying attention to are all wrong. Philly is obviously right. He's going to win the MVP because Philly said so. He's 21 and he knows all the answers. Ask him.
I never said he was going to win MVP. I said he is a top 3 MVP candidate, and I think he's 3rd. He's been unbelievable this year. And we're back in 5 seconds.
Mike.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton brought to you in part by Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for anything on earth that moves. Well, just about anything. From motorcycles, ATVs, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, trucks, earth-moving equipment, hell, electric producing windmills, industrial equipment. You get the idea. Napa Filters. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, only do-it-yourself with a Napa filter. Go online or order in-store at Napa Auto Parts.
Text line was loud when we got into the college football stuff. It's been a little quiet since we
went off the
beaten path and talked a few other things. But we did spend a great deal of our show today talking about an article Andy Staples had written talking about the SEC and what happens when a new playoff begins. And boy, oh boy, SEC, just the thought of the SEC taking their own ball and doing their own thing honks off a lot. It ruined college football today, David. We helped ruin the sport.
Well, I just thought of this because I do believe the SEC could do what Andy Staples wrote about. I actually think the SEC could, because the SEC is not going to go into decline. See, that's the thing. I don't believe this is a peak which is going to have a valley. One, it really does mean more. They are absolutely positively all in at every place not named Vanderbilt. And also, if you look at the population shift and where the football talent has gone, I mean, hell, the SEC is now going to have 2 schools in Texas. I mean, come on now. They're going to get the dudes for the foreseeable future.
Right. From a population standpoint, you're in Florida, you're in Texas, and the best football is played in the South, and you've got that covered.
So I do think the SEC could essentially hold their own tournament and say to the rest of the sport, we got next. Let us know who it is, where it is. We'll be there.
Do you think in any way, shape, or form, I can't believe I'm even thinking this, but of all the schools that would really bother, there's one to me that's at the top of the list. It's the one in Columbus, Ohio. And I know the Big Ten has all this money, but at some time, if you're doing your own thing, could this ever produce more volatility in college football and get a Big Ten team to say, enough, I'm leaving for the SEC?
See, I would look at it the other way. If I was at school in Columbus, I would go, well, we're going to be in the title game every other year, at least. I could win that other tournament every year. I could. You see, that's how I would look at it, where I don't have to play in Alabama in the semis. I could play them in the final. I don't have to maybe go through 2 SEC schools in the 4, 8, 12-team tournament, whatever it is. I could just wait to play them at the end.
Now, Michigan keeps on keeping on and decides they're going to be Michigan. USC decides they're going to be USC in the next couple of years. Maybe there'd be some there to thwart this. I don't think this ever happens, for what it's worth. I thought it was an interesting column, and I think the arrogance of the SEC after being put down for so many years, you could see where they'd want to puff their chest out and try this, or at least talk about it.
Well, financially, I mean, that's the thing that Sankey, when they sit down in about 2 years and they start seriously figuring out what it is we're going to do forward, I mean, Sankey's going to know. I mean, he will have made calls to networks about this. He will have talked to ESPN and said, what if we broke away? Because you're involved in the sport at large. Would this be problematic for you? Or would this be better? It would produce more games with big numbers. The other thing I think it would do, and it is one of the issues of the 12-team playoff, at some point, can the bowl system really survive? And another reason, for those that don't know, why the vote was 8-3, and it needed to be unanimous amongst the 10 conferences and the AD of Notre Dame to go from a 4 to a 12-team playoff. It doesn't have to be unanimous 4 years from now, but to change the contract, it needed to be unanimous. But the Rose Bowl still has their
time slot
all over the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. They are not willing to buck the Rose Bowl. I mean, the word is Jim Delaney is lobbying on the Rose Bowl's behalf for its place in the sport going forward. I mean, come on now. That's Jim Delaney, who before Mike Slive was the most important person in college athletics and certainly has more respect amongst the people in the Big Ten than the current commissioner of the Big Ten does. So they're going to have to buck Jim Delaney and the Rose Bowl in some way, shape, or form, or just flat out guarantee it like a semifinal every year.
And that, to me, is the simple answer. Enough with your conference alignments. We'll give you a semi because the Rose Bowl deserves a semi.
Yeah. And it's a great venue, great sight lines, can
And
hold 100,000.
Everybody who's ever been to a game there.
Yep.
From you to friends of mine that went out to see Sparty when they played Stanford to others, I have run into dozens of people over the course of my lifetime who have been to a bunch of different Rose Bowl games. And there's not one of them that has a bad word to say about the venue, the way it looks, how it, just the views that you get from around the stadium. It's magnificent.
Right. There's one bad thing about the Rose Bowl.
The seats.
No, well, the seats are old and smaller, but it's a one-lane road to get in and out. One lane on each side. And they have not changed it because Pasadena does not want anything done to Pasadena. They're like, yeah, there's 8 games a year there.
Deal with it.
Yeah, we're not, suck it up. So just in, if you're ever going to the Rose Bowl, go 6 hours early, and I am not joking. Just plan on a really long tailgate in the parking lot. Just go. And for that matter, either leave mid-fourth quarter or just stay. Because it's the worst in and out situation of a stadium ever. I mean, think about it, 100,000+ people, and they got one road in and out. I mean, come on. It's everything.
It's the Rose Bowl in downtown Naples.
Right.
It's about what you're looking at.
But so we've got issues going forward. We do. But Sankey's when they finally sit down, he's gonna know what the numbers could be if he took his ball and went home. And he's gonna sit and look at the other guys and go, so what do you think? What's your idea? Because I've got options.
Now, the good news is the reasons that the 3 conferences, the Big Ten and their 2 lackeys, voted against it is that they're of the belief when this thing opens up, they don't want just ESPN, because if it was done, ESPN was in control. They want to have the full-on barrage of networks and streaming services bidding on this.
Absolutely. They want the NFL playoff structure.
And they should. That's smart.
Sure. You got 4 networks now, all in.
And that doesn't even get us to what Amazon might be willing to do.
Right.
Or Apple TV, for that matter.
Yep. And the other interesting factor in this, while I wish they would have changed the playoff system, is 4 years, the obvious, is a long time from now. But between now and then, the Big Ten's going to renegotiate their TV deal. The Big 12's going to negotiate a TV deal. The Pac-12 is going to negotiate a TV deal. All between now and whenever it is they're going to change or renew the college football playoff system. It is a reason to veto. I will say this. I do think this is where Warren, the Big Ten commissioner, going, could we just take a step back and let's just see what comes down the road in the next 3-4 years from a TV streaming money standpoint.
Now, the ACC sitting there going, well, nothing's coming to us because we're screwed.
Right. We wanted the ACC network so badly.
We sacrificed maybe our conference for it.
All right. I don't want to freak people out, but could Sankey's next move? I mean, the ACC schools are going to be sitting there watching the entire rest of the sport just catch money falling out of the sky.
They are going to be the crotch rocket that passes you in the left lane doing 100 miles an hour, and the ACC is going to be the dump truck in the right lane going 50. And that's not a joke. He just mentioned all the conferences that are getting new deals. You didn't mention the ACC.
No, they're tied into the 2030s.
Right.
On a
Think about that with what these deals are.
And are some of the schools, because the penalty right now, if it can be legally upheld, is severe to leave the ACC.
Right.
It's like a $52 million fine, and they own your media rights going forward for the rest of the contract. So if, let's just say, Florida State wanted to leave the ACC and go to the SEC, in theory, the ACC is like, you owe us $50 million. And by the way, all your TV money comes to us until, well, let's see, when's our contract up? 2034? Yeah, the next 12 years.
It's why, by the way, there are more universities than Oklahoma and Texas paying close attention to this whole Conference USA, Marshall, ODU thing.
But if some of those ACC schools think they can get out and not have to pay the penalty that is seemingly on the books right now, is Sankey's next move taking 16 and making it 18 or 20 and basically burying the ACC? Because come on now, we all know the 2 or 3 schools that if he took them, it's over. And it goes back to something that we could not believe that happened in July and August. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina all signed up for Texas joining the SEC. And A&M did look at all of them and go, just so you know, since you did that, you can't block Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, and Clemson ever coming to this conference. You do know that, don't you? So enjoy your vote. Enjoy that steak. But this could come back and haunt you, you know.
And look, you could never imagine the time when North Carolina and Duke don't play in ACC basketball every year. But
Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play football anymore.
Right.
Pitt and West Virginia gone a long time without playing football.
They sure have.
Although I believe they open next season against one another. Yeah. By the way, Texas and Texas A&M have stopped playing football.
And it's a hell of a lot easier to schedule a team in basketball than it is in football, David.
Right. So just
food for thought.
Just throwing it out there. That's all. 26 minutes before the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Twitch chat, you know what I just did? I hit the button.
What'd you say?
I was like, hey, Twitch chat, you know what I just did? I hit the button.
It's very important.
Yeah, sorry about that. I honestly didn't think you guys would be able to hear that.
Right. And I'm sure you didn't. Plus, you know, the show's going on and what have you. And usually, I mean, you could, you know, blow something up in there and it's tough for us to hear.
Gilly, we need the gritty. I think you mean Philly. What I would pay thousands of dollars to see is David Moulton do the gritty. That'd be amazing. Like that video of
I'd
Adam
have to
Schefter
practice
doing
it, but
MLB, but at this rate, barely. Ah, yes. Our weekly Can the Lakers make the playoffs?
Weekly.
Weekly?
It's every effing day. They did the same segment yesterday. No. The same segment, same graphic.
Weekly? The hell are you talking about weekly? Oh man, James Harden's gonna look so good in those Sixers jerseys.
How many games they got left in the regular season? So you play, what, half of them?
I'd say like 25. 25 games. And then saying they make the finals, another 20 games for them or so. That's what's on the sports menu tonight. NBA.
Do you have the Grammys from 1998 in your
No.
it's when Sean Colvin won the Grammy for Best Song, and ODB got up on stage and said Wu-Tang should have won the Best Rap Album because Wu-Tang is for the children.
You could lose Sobel there. No, I don't have that. I do have Pamela Anderson getting Tommy Lee arrested in 98 on
Really want to watch that.
Whoa.
battery charges.
You just spoiled it for me, basically.
Really want to watch that show.
I'm watching it. I didn't know the story.
You're not missing anything.
Oh, trust me, that's not the story. No.
I didn't know that happened.
Oh, Felipe, there is so much that is going to happen.
I know.
Keep watching.
I'm on episode 5.
Hello.
Oh, who's this?
Hi. Yeah.
30 seconds. Oh, this is great. No. Should put it on speaker.
No.
All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"20 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. We try to stay away from politics on the show, and we try to stay away from the serious because we feel that, you turn to sports for it to be an escape, right? Have you seen, however, the little exchange between the elderly woman in the Ukraine and the 2 Russian soldiers?
I have not.
Who showed up in her neighborhood? Yeah. She walked up to him. "Who are you?" And the one soldier said, "We have exercises here. Please go this way." She goes, "What kind of exercises? Are you Russian?" Soldier, "Yes." She says, "So what the are you doing here?" Soldier, "Right now our discussion will lead to nothing." Woman, "You're occupants. You're fascists. What the are you doing on our land with all these guns? Take these seeds and put them in your pockets so at least sunflowers will grow when you all lie down and die here." Soldier, "Right now our discussion will lead nowhere. Let's not escalate this situation." She goes, "How can it be further escalated? You blank and came here uninvited, you pieces of blank." All caught on camera. They're both armed.
Well,
Okay, she's an elderly Ukrainian
I
woman.
ain't gonna shoot the old woman.
No, that's what she's counting on.
Grandma
right there.
always can say what she wants, whenever
Got
she
that
wants.
right.
Grandma decides to say something. You know what you do? You shut up and you listen.
Yep, I'm convinced. You break into the house and the elderly woman shows up. You go, I'm sorry, ma'am.
You know what I figured out last night? And I know we got stuff to get to, but really quickly, because we spent the show talking about stars and who's a star and the mom test.
Right.
You realize that our wives are now the moms? Don't tell them that. They'll get mad. We're old.
Well,
I mean, they're not as old, but you realize the mom test is now our wives. When you're a grandfather.
Right.
Yeah. The mom test is your wife.
I know that.
It hit me yesterday.
Wow, it only hit you yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on making it that long. Good job by you. It is time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Mark, this is on here because I thought it would interest you. 160 years ago today, in 1862, Congress passes the first Legal Tender Act. It authorizes the U.S. note, the greenback, into circulation. It is the first flat paper money as legal tender in this country.
Dollar bills, baby, dollar bills.
8 years later, somebody who, quite frankly, I thought would have gotten a little bit more acclaim over the years, Hiram Reels, sworn in, first black member of Congress. He was a Republican from Mississippi in 1870. Hello. 1919, Oregon, first state to tax gasoline. A penny tax. Oregon started it. Blame them.
Damn Oregonians.
1933, the NFL, big rule change. They put the goalposts on the goal line. Early days of football, you saw it. It was 10 yards back. It was at the end of the end zone. Goalposts were wide. Okay. No, 1933, they said, let's move this up, put it on the goal line. Stayed that way 40 years.
Looks so dumb when you see it now.
Famous play in the Dolphins' perfect season in the Super Bowl. Billy Kilmer's got a wide open receiver in the end zone. It hit the upright. The pass hit the upright.
Just the thought of that's crazy.
Right. Dolphins caught a break. Where are we? 1950. Your Show of Shows with Sid Caesar premiered on NBC.
You know who the writers for this show were? Mel Brooks, Neil Simon, Woody Allen. Hello.
Damn. 1957, the Supreme Court rules 6-3 that Major League Baseball is the only antitrust exempt professional sport. I can't believe that has not been challenged / overturned. Buddy Holly and the Crickets, Mark, also on that day in 1957, record That'll Be the Day. My mother had the 45. 1964, Cassius Clay beats Sonny Liston, who does not come out of his corner for the beginning of the 7th round at the Convention Center in Miami Beach. And that great interview in the ring. I shook up the world. I'm a bad man. 1968, Cale Yarborough edges Leroy Yarborough to win the Daytona 500.
Had to be a hell of a fight after that.
69, the Beatles begin recording Abbey Road, the album. 1972, the Cardinals traded Steve Carlton to the Phillies for Rick Wise. He would win 27 games the very next year and go on to a Hall of Fame career. One of those trades you just want back. This for Philly on this day in 1977, 45 years ago, Pistol Pete Maravich scored 68 points for the New Orleans Jazz, at the time, a record for a guard in the NBA. Wilt had all the point totals that were higher than 68. 1981, Mark, most penalized game in NHL history. Bruins and North Stars. 84 penalties, 392 minutes.
That's a good night.
1982, the final episode of The Lawrence Welk Show aired 40 years ago today. 1989.
1 and 2.
He was from North Dakota. Oh, it was pointed out to me many times.
Explains a lot about North Dakota.
Yep. Mike Tyson KO'd Frank Bruno in 5 to unify the heavyweight championship in 89. On this day in 91, Wayne Gretzky, John Candy, and Kings owner Bruce McNall bought the Toronto Argonauts. On this day in 98, Pamela Anderson gets Tommy Lee arrested on battery charges. And 15 years ago today in 07, Martin Scorsese finally wins an Oscar for The Departed. Bobby Riggs, Champagne Tony Lima, Ron Santo, Davey Allison, George Harrison, all had birthdays today. Bobby Riggs would have been 104. Champagne Tony Lima would have been 88. Ron Santo, 82. Davey Allison, 61. And George Harrison would have been 79. Billy Packer is 82 today. James Brown, CBS TV personality, is 71. Kurt Rambis is 64. Todd Blackledge is 61. Paul O'Neill, who the Yankees this week said they're going to retire his number, 21.
It's a little bit of a surprise, isn't it?
9 years with the Yankees. I mean, he was there for that last dynasty.
I know. Just doesn't seem like a retired number guy to me.
Well, I agree with you.
That's all.
By the way, this I did not know. He wore 21 for Clemente, with both the Reds and the Yankees. Joakim Noah is 37 today. Matsuyama's 30. Ric Flair is 73. And that is Today Was the Day.
David, 2 omissions. It was today in 1940, the first televised hockey game, the Rangers and Canadiens.
Huh.
And it was today in 1977 that arguably the greatest sports movie ever was released. That movie would be Slapshot.
Oh, I thought you were tongue-in-cheek there. You know, like you were going to say the fish that say Pittsburgh.
No.
Or something like
I'm going
that.
to say Slapshot.
Gotcha.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Cape Coral for the good in Palmetto Pine Country Club, where a couple of weeks ago, Keith Passanelli and Dave Brittner were out playing golf. That's when Policini hit a hole-in-one, his first ever, on the 156-yard par 3 hole, number 6. And he looked at his buddy and said, "Hey, beat that." Well, he didn't beat it, but he tied it. Back-to-back aces by 2 golfers on the 6th hole.
It's amazing, the odds. It's unreal.
I know 2 people that have done it at my club. Happened, 5-6 years ago. So they wrote it up in USA Today. Greg Shires and Greg McCall on the 8th hole. Boom, boom.
Unreal.
Funny part about it was in the USA Today article, they called someone in their foursome, Jim Weir, another guy that I know. The whole article is quotes from Weir. Nice of them to do a story on the 2 guys that had the hole-in-one.
Guess they couldn't get a hold of them.
Probably not.
They were too busy at the bar, either paying or drinking.
For the bad, we go to Lehigh Acres, where cameras found 2 men arguing on State Road 82. Then the 2 men got out of the cars and turned into a full-on melee on State Road 82. They cut one another off and got back in their cars and left. No one was arrested. Good video of the fight on NBC-2.com. Finally, the ugly. David, what can't you fix?
Stupid.
Carlos Luciano is, quote, stupid, because on Wednesday at around 10 p.m. through a first-floor window, he broke in to the commander's office at the 52nd precinct of the New York Police Department. Upon being discovered, he took off running through the station. He was captured on the first floor, where he was charged with burglary, then taken to the back and had the crap beat out of him. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, February the 25th, 2022.
9 games in the NBA tonight. The Heat back in action after the All-Star break. They're at Madison Square Garden to take on the Knicks. It'll be on the 4-letter network. The Heat a 5.5-point favorite. Heat own the Knicks, have for a long time. All that playoff pain the Knicks caused them in the late 90s and early 2000s, they have gotten it back and then some. Second end of the doubleheader, by the way, Mark, is the Battle of L.A., which would be a play-in series right now. Clippers and Lakers are the 8 and 9 seeds out west.
Only game with a ranked team tonight is the 25th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes on the road. They're a 12-point favorite tonight at Nebraska. Friday nights, as always, not a big night for college hoop. It'll be a big weekend once we get going tomorrow.
Neither of the Florida teams in action tonight. Can Columbus, after beating the Panthers, come back and beat the Hurricanes? Hurricanes are minus 340.
You got to take the Hurricanes in that game. I mean, I know it's a lot of money that you're risking, but my goodness. Columbus isn't beating Florida and Carolina on the road back-to-back nights, are they?
I would think not. I mean, I know it's minus 340, but don't you have to go that route?
Yes.
One other thing I did miss with the NBA, Harden does make his Sixers debut tonight in Minnesota. Don't know if that interests anybody or not, but we did say he made the list yesterday. He qualified as a star.
People were asking girlfriends and wives if they knew who James Harden was yesterday. I don't know if Felipe's ever been happier to be a part of the show that people were going home and doing the mom and girlfriend and wife test with James Harden yesterday.
Whether it's the beard, whether the fact he dated a Kardashian, whether the fact you were paying attention 2 weeks ago and a stripper was the one that broke his news of being traded to the Sixers because she gave him a lap dance the night before the deal went down, and he said, "Oh, I'm a Sixer." So she went and reported it.
You know that he allegedly has his number retired in a strip club in Atlanta for reportedly spending $1 million one night?
Wow.
Giddy up.
Yep.
Giddy up. Tomorrow, college hoop, 3 games among ranked teams. Kentucky and Arkansas play one another. Tennessee and Auburn play one another. And Baylor and Kansas play one another tomorrow. 3 pretty good college basketball games tomorrow.
And last home regular season games for FGCU tomorrow. Men at 1, women at 4. Women locked up the 1 seed by beating Liberty last night. So they'll be the 1. The men are the 3 seed in the ASUN tournament.
Right now, an 8 seed is where they have FGCU women, David. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll be back Monday morning, 6 a.m. right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.